Hello, everyone, and welcome to the very first LFC Roundtable of Big Brother 19. Very excited to bring you the Roundtables. These are some of my favorite podcasts. I am your host, Taran Armstrong, and today I am joined by two of my great, illustrious LFC members. First up, we've got Brent Wolgamott. How you doing, Brent?
Taran, what are we doing here? Seriously, nothing happens in this house. I don't even know why we do these feed updates every day because this house is literally so boring. What happened today?
Nothing to talk about. Man, yeah. Also joined with us today is Alex Kidwell. How you doing, Alex?
I'm good. Being that this was the first official roundtable that we were doing for Big Brother 19, I wanted to have some cool thing or do something clever. So I was gonna show up and do a gimmick, I was gonna be Lord Hoodie or something. But in true Big Brother fashion, I'm gonna mention it once and then never talk about it again because it's an alter ego, and that's what we do.
Okay. I thought about bringing back the alliteration intros because as an homage to the Big Brother Temptations, but then I remembered how much work they were to come up with. Yeah. And I decided against it. So this is the LFC Roundtable. This is where we talk about everything from the feeds. We will be live every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, so we can argue about all of this stuff with each other, get everyone's perspective. We did do this show in favor of an update this morning, so this is replacing that, but we will continue our regular daily morning updates tomorrow. So check that out on the Rob Has a Podcast Facebook page if you want to get some more daily updates. Those have been a lot of fun. People have really been enjoying them, so I hope that we're able to continue doing those in the future. We have the chat room open on robhasawebsite.com, and you can send in questions to me at Armstrong Taran if you want them read and answered on the show. So let's get into this. I figured, let's start out just explaining what's the current state of the house. Who's HOH? What are the nominations? What's going down? Alex, can you give me a picture of what's happening here?
Well, I mean, the HOH, at least, that's one thing that hasn't changed this week. That's still Cody. Everything else has been pretty crazy. I mean, obviously, just kind of brief rundown. If people have been sleeping on the season or have somehow forgotten that he put up Megan and Jillian, Megan goes out the door. Then he puts up, he puts up Alex. Alex wins power veto on Friday. Then he decides he's going to try to put up Paul, but Paul wins the temptation, the pendant of protection. So then he puts up Christmas, not knowing what to do, and then Christmas is on the block against Jillian.
Yes, so a quite strange series of events there to get Christmas up on the block, but we do currently have Christmas versus Jillian heading toward tonight's vote. But even that seemed uncertain this morning as the feeds opened up to Christmas lying on the ground, screaming that I've broken my foot. Get me help. Jason is running to the diary room. We're thinking, oh my God, we might lose Christmas too. And what is Cody going to put up a sixth person? This was insanity, Brent.
Well, I never believed that Cody was ever going to put up a sixth person. I have to believe that Big Brother would not have been okay with that. They would have just said, Christmas, sayonara, see you later. But she did come back into the house. I think the update on Christmas is that she has been given, was she joking when she said that she's on painkillers right now? Because she said it in a joking way, but I thought that she actually was on painkillers right now. And
I think she's legitimately high as we speak.
Okay, sounds good. Well,
yes.
Interesting. Luna C tweeted that Christmas on painkillers is actually a much better player than many of the other house guests currently in the house, which I actually do agree with. Having said that, she did come back into the house. She's going to get an MRI on Wednesday. That's the update on Christmas. Of course, Jillian was a little bit of a bitch during the whole thing because Christmas has to go to the hospital. She might be out of the game. And Jillian's like, so if Christmas doesn't come back, am I safe? And I'm like, oh, girl, why do you say, it's okay to think it. Don't say that out loud, because she didn't just say it. She said it around Raven and Elena, and Jessica, both of whom thought it was totally uncouth. So I thought that was a bad call on her part. And so we have the look of someone like Christmas coming back into the house. She's on crutches. She may have a broken foot. Who knows? We're still waiting on the results of that. But I have to believe this. If Megan didn't quit when she did, I feel like they would have probably pulled Christmas from the game. I really do, because she's on crutches. She's not going to be able to do these competitions. I mean, she won't even be able to make it look good if it's at all physical, which may ultimately end up helping her, a la, I can't remember her name, the lady who was on crutches at the end of Survivor and they didn't vote her out and she made it to the final 3. Please help me.
Muffin?
Yes, thank you. Sorry.
I'm spending too much time with Taran.
Yeah, sticky situation. That's all I could remember. But it may end up helping her because she is a physical beast, obviously, and the fact that she has broken her foot or somehow really twisted it badly, we're still waiting on the results, is a little bit like Tyson to me from Survivor, a little bit like John from BB Can 2, where you're injured in the beginning and hopefully people forget about the fact that she is so physical because she actually has a pretty good social game.
Yeah, I don't know if they would have pulled her from the game necessarily. I don't think this is as big a disadvantage as we might think, especially in terms of these competitions. I mean, I don't think this is any worse than like Jocasta not being able to participate in a veto because she's sick, or like.
Oh, come on! No! I cannot agree with you on that, honey. There's so many of these competitions where you have to move through slimy stuff and hold on to stuff. And
there's so many people who are just physically never going to win any of those competitions, and I don't think Christmas is any different. I
understand that, but they can at least try them. They can at least perform. Oh, sure. She cannot do that walking around on crutches. It's like the girl on RuPaul's Drag Race, Eureka, who was pulled from the competition when she hurt her foot because it looks stupid with somebody walking down the runway on crutches. Likewise, in the backyard, it's going to look stupid with Christmas trying to win a veto in a physical competition. The vetoes are almost always physical. If she's not, how the hell is she going to win it? Again, I am still very dubious of the fact that she's even going to be allowed to continue, and I really do think they would have pulled her, but that's my opinion.
Well, they did say, Christmas did say that she needs to go back to get an MRI to see if there's a fracture. And so it seems like she seems like she's going to be here. She seems pretty confident that she's going to stay, but based on what she said, it seems like perhaps they still might pull her from the game. They said, like, we'll see what happens.
Right.
If there is a fracture, that's pretty serious. Like, I don't know what that would entail as far as recovery goes. I'm seeing in the chat room, and I saw this a bit. Some people were talking about this. If it's a ligament, it is just a torn ligament right now. Then she could theoretically recover in a few weeks. Maybe be on her feet in a few weeks. If that's the case, I definitely see why she would be staying. If it is a fracture, that is obviously much more serious. I don't know what the recovery time for that would be. But either way, I don't have any issue with Christmas staying in the game, and I would hope that they wouldn't have pulled her.
I love when she was talking to Jason. Did you see this? Because Jason, behind her back, is seriously thinking about voting her out, and Christmas is aware of this. And Christmas said, man, they'd literally have to pull me out of this game. Because I don't care what happened to me. He's like, but if you have a broken foot, she's like, fuck off, dude. I don't want to hear it. She's like, I'm staying no matter what. I don't care. I love it.
Yeah. She was basically like, I'm not gonna have Cody nominate a sixth person. I'm staying here. Just to clarify what happened, we did learn what happened was, they woke up, they had the morning music, and they were playing Jason and Christmas. They were playing this game. Christmas was riding on Jason's back, and he was running around the backyard. He slipped, and they both crashed down onto the ground, and somehow her foot got caught up in that, and that's what happened with her foot. I'm sure we'll see it on the episode at some point. There's so much. Every single episode is like, what's the new disastrous thing from this one? So we'll see, but that is the current state of Christmas. She is back in the house. It does seem as though she is going to be able to continue to play the game, but will she even stay in the game, Alex?
Mm-hmm.
Does she even have a chance here with these votes?
Yeah, well, I was just going to say also that, if you watch feeds regularly, that music, they listen, the one time I get to hear music or hear anything resembling the outside world or pop culture is in first thing in the morning when the fish are on. They get to listen to some music, and I guess it's been a bit of a tradition for Christmas to piggyback ride Jason around the house dancing during this music. But then they played Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy today, and it was, I think, especially voracious. And so things got out of hand. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy, right? Because you would think that Christmas versus Jillian, this should be a no-brainer for most people. Obviously, if you're really close to Christmas, it makes sense. Maybe try to keep her around, use her as a shield or something. But this isn't Survivor. For most people, it should be relatively simple that you keep the person who doesn't seem like they can do anything. But it seems like even though I get the inclination Christmas is going to turn on Cody and everyone associated with Cody, most of the people associated with Cody are like unwilling to turn on Christmas for any reason, seemingly. They refuse. They've given her a word, and that's it.
Yeah, there's a lot of sympathy in the house for Christmas, not only from breaking her foot potentially, but also just for being backdoored in the way that she was. They feel like this was really unfair. There's a lot of sympathy for Christmas outside of the house as well. I believe the reason that Melissa is not joining us today is that she broke her foot in in solidarity with Christmas. That or something to do with the 4th of July, I'm sure. But yeah, I mean, she has a lot of support behind her, both in and outside of the house. If the vote is still open by the time the Wednesday episode airs, I could see her maybe getting this temptation. If it's like, whoa, this is crazy. She's on our screens. We're sympathetic. We were already fans. And if not, which is maybe even the better scenario. Maybe she doesn't get the veto, the ring of replacement, but maybe she has enough, sympathy and like goodwill moving forward that she gets the next one, which would be much more beneficial.
I have to believe that's what's going to happen because I mean, if they stick to the plan of how they normally do these episodes, Wednesday's show is going to end with the replacement at that point. So it won't be until Thursday where we see where she hurts her foot. So at that point on Wednesday, Cody's going to name her as the replacement. She's going to be pissed. She's going to sit down, and then they're going to go black, and then come back up on Thursday with, all hell breaking loose. Now, if they decide to change it up and maybe that won't be the end of the episode, maybe we see a little bit more, then possibly, but it's up to Big Brother. I have to believe they're probably going to stick to what they normally do.
Yes. All right. So this is the craziest thing right now is Christmas going to go home? Because these votes are very fluid, very up in the air as far as I'm concerned. Cody makes this crazy move, and now half of his alliance is leaning one way, half of his alliance is leaning the other way. And then we got the outsiders. What we thought was this group of 9 versus the outsiders. We've got half of the insiders voting one way, half of them voting the other way, and half of the outsiders voting one way, and half of them voting the other way. So it's very, very confusing, very hard to wrap our heads around. So I want to break this vote down, vote by vote. I want to start with who do we know for a fact 100% is voting for Christmas or against or for Jillian, I guess. That was not a slip of the tongue. I'm not counting Jillian out of this conversation. But yes, it's really about Christmas. It's for Christmas or against Christmas. Let's be fair.
Right. Yeah. People are saying like, well, yeah, it's unfair that Jillian had to campaign against Jillian didn't campaign against anybody. Jillian's campaigning is to I'm going to sit back and let you hang yourself. And some people are like, oh, what a good strategy. No, that's what people also do when they just don't know what they're supposed to do. Her literally all she's thought of to do is to talk to the cameras and beg America for rewards. And
yes.
To the point even where the cameras now cut away from her,
thankfully.
Yeah. Amazing.
She's like, nobody in this house cares enough to talk about me.
No.
Cameras, what are you? Cut away.
But it's really funny.
I wanted to ask you, Taran, I have to believe that weeks like these are the times where you really love Big Brother the most because everything is so fluid and there's really a lot of strange bedfellows in terms of who is voting with who and why they are voting the way they are voting. I even think that people that are voting to keep Jillian, many of them have different agendas, but yet they're still getting to the same end goal. Likewise with Christmas as well, don't you think?
Absolutely. It's kind of strange. This is kind of a unique situation because normally we don't get the first week of feeds. We still haven't gotten the first week of feeds, but usually by the time we get the feeds up and going, there's some sort of alliance that's formed and it's pretty solid in the way that it is. It usually gets broken up at some point, but we never really see how these things essentially form in the beginning. And with what we're seeing now, we saw that formation completely shatter when Cody made this nomination. He completely destroyed his alliance. He destroyed everything is reforming. It's like it's the first week all over again. And we're getting to see all of the stuff that is going to form the bonds and the alliances that are going to last the entire game. That's happening right now as we speak. It's going back and forth. It's hard to really pin down, and I think we're going to have difficulty explaining exactly what's happening in this moment. But by the time this week ends and they make this vote, things are going to be pretty settled in terms of who's on what side, and those bonds are going to be very important moving forward, and it's all happening right now. So yes, I've been glued to the feeds all day, just because there's so many conversations happening, and so many of them are just like nonsense. Like they just keep talking in circles.
Yeah.
But it's very important how people come away feeling from those conversations. Like the information itself isn't even as relevant. It's just about how do I feel about the person I just had a conversation with, and that's really where people sway in terms of where they're leaning toward and all of that. So very, very interesting stuff happening, at least for me. I know there's not a lot of like drama happening, but yeah, this is great.
Someone like Mark really intrigues me because he keeps saying, well, first of all, he made a decision in Elena's eyes, and she's really pissed at him. Marlena may be on the rocks, people. It's looking iffy. But I know Elena is pissed at Mark because he seemingly made a decision in front of her, and now he's saying he's really torn, and she's calling him on that. But Mark is one of these people who's saying, hey, look, I may not vote with you guys this week, but we're still good, right? Like even though I may not vote with you, I'm still with you. And I know he wants to believe that, but I don't know if that's really going to carry any water, because he keeps saying to Jessica, like, if he ultimately votes to keep Christmas, he knows what the result of that's going to be, because Jessica was told last night by Christmas that Jessica is on her radar. So, I mean, and obviously bad playing by Christmas there, but it's just, there's a lot of weird stuff happening, and people saying, I hear what you're saying about, like, at the end of this week, things are going to be set. I agree with that in part, at least on one side of the house, but on the insiders, the majority alliance part of the house, I really wonder if you're voting against your own alliance members, are you going to really be able to work together? I feel like that dissolves loyalty more than anything. I don't really think it's going to strengthen it.
Yeah, I feel like what Cody has done is he's started this whole season off with, yes, we're in an alliance together, even though we haven't made it an official alliance. We have an alliance together, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to do what's in your best interests, and it doesn't mean that I'm going to even listen to what you have to say. And so right off the bat, he made this nomination, and immediately half of his alliance is saying, well, fine, we're going to do what we want then. And that's never going to really work. They think it can work. They think, all right, we're going to vote against Cody and Jessica and their best interests for this vote, but then we'll come together. He's still protecting us, right? I don't think so. I think this is going to cause a lot of stuff. Cody now is with Jessica, and he has Mark to some extent, and that's really all he's got now. He thinks he has Alex and Jason, and they are maybe kind of voting with him in terms of keeping Jillian, but I think that's a lot more in line with the fact that they're loyal to Jillian and not because they want to work with Cody and Jessica. Right. So there's a lot of different groups kind of like floating around and trying to work together, but their interests are not aligning. It's very strange. It's a very strange dynamic.
Alex, did you like that earlier today, Cody told Jessica that if he had to make the re-nom, he was going to nominate Jason? And I'm like, oh, it only took you like 6 nominations to get to the right guy finally, right?
Yeah, right. He had just done that from the beginning. Yeah, everything would have been cool. But not for us. I mean, it's better for the feeds and better for TV. And I mean, like he's playing terribly, but sometimes, like, kind of Big Brother Canada 5 thing. Sometimes that makes for the best entertainment is when people are just making horrific mistake after horrific mistake.
I know that your boy Matt asked Cody earlier today, why did you put Paul, or why did you try to put Paul up on the block when you weren't sure you had the votes? And Cody's response to that, Taran, was, well, I thought I would have the votes once I nominated him because he's played before. So, I mean, and actually that's the part I kind of agree with. Like, the fact that this guy's played before and keeps reminding them that he has played before and keeps reminding them that he got to the end, I feel like should be reason enough for everybody to want to vote him out, but they're not that smart.
Oh, and but it's not even just that. Like, he needs to talk to them before he makes the move. I think that's nobody. This happens all the time. Becky tried to make this move against Vanessa in season 17. You cannot just make a move unilaterally and expect people to fall in line. It just doesn't work. I mean, from the very first HOH in Big Brother 2, Mike Boogie tries to act as judge, jury, and executioner by nominating 2 people. He thought one was an obvious pawn, one was the clear target. He's forcing the house to evict Nicole, but people don't just fall in line with what you expect them to
Right.
do if you don't talk to them about it first.
I was gonna pull that actually, but I thought, oh, that's a deep pull. I really don't want to say that. But
Well,
I'm so glad you brought it up because of your great book with the Rob. But first, the BB2, what do you call it? A documentary or
the
blockumentary?
Yes.
Blockumentary. Thank you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What better time for a deep pull than the LFC roundtable?
That's true. That's true.
To be honest.
If you want to learn more about that, then go and buy the Big Brother 2 but documentary.
In my book.
Yes,
Yeah.
buy it.
Christmas.
Exactly. So I interrupted you, Taran, earlier. You said you wanted to go through each person individually
Yes.
and talk about their votes. So why don't we?
Yeah, I got to give you credit on this. This is a great idea, and this is something we could do going forward because as on a Monday evening, I should say, but I'm looking out at the sun here on the West Coast. So afternoon, evening show. It's like right after. Traditionally, this will be right after the renom happens for the POV.
Right.
So this will always be a good time for us to go through and break down like each vote like this. So I like this idea. Let's do this.
All right. Yeah. So go ahead.
I think Josh is like if you're talking about like the polar, like the ones firmly locked in, I think like the most Christmas vote, the one that's like firmly in Sharpie is Paul. And I think the same applies with Josh and Jillian. Like Josh is very much friends with Jillian and not at all with Christmas. Paul has no relationship with Jillian, great relationship with Christmas. Some people are pretty much set in stone, but like those are the 100 zeros to me.
Really, with Josh and Christmas, you don't feel like they have a relationship? I feel like they.
Yeah. I'm with you. I'm with you, Brent. I don't feel like
on that one.
Yeah. In fact,
Okay. I feel like he's Jillian's only friend though.
I mean she is fond of reminding him of that, saying, I was the only person who was your friend. Christmas is only talking to you now. But that's not true. We saw on the Big Brother show that they have a good relationship together. I almost thought you said the wrong name because I feel like Josh is more in line with keeping Christmas more than anything. The person who I know 100% is going to keep Jillian at this point is Alex. I feel like Alex more than anything feels like Jillian is her homegirl. Alex was willing to put the veto around Jillian's neck to save her and evict herself. That's how much she cares about Jillian. So I feel like that probably Alex more than anything. I'm not trying to throw shade at you. I just I have a different opinion of Josh in general that I feel like he's more.
No, by all means.
Yeah. And this is something that we haven't really talked about because it didn't end up mattering. But Brent is completely right. Alex did talk a lot about this idea that she was planning on using the veto on Jillian, save Jillian, and essentially sacrifice herself. Yeah, I mean, people are very high on Alex. She won a veto to save herself. That's always exciting. But the way that she got herself on the block, the fact that she wanted to use the veto on somebody else, just don't expect the best things from Alex.
This is why the people who win the game are the people who are hated, because people love people who make moves like this. Like, come on.
Well, I mean, I will say that, she made me love her a little bit less. Like watching her on the episode, when she basically told Cody to F off when he was trying to get her to say something to save herself. And then again with the veto, when somebody, I was asleep at the time and I woke up and saw this tweet that she said she was going to use the veto on Jillian if she didn't buy that Cody was going to stick to their deal. I was aghast. I was like, girl, come on. Like, I want to root for you, but you're making it so hard on me. Like, who does that? Come on.
Yes. So talking about Josh, Josh is, I think, somebody that we need to focus on. He's a little bit in the middle.
He's a swing, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll talk about him a little bit later.
Okay, with all the chaos that's happened, like
I agree.
The best. No one has benefited more than him because
definitely.
He was so all over the place and everyone was talking about nothing but him. And then in the last few days, he's just been like reading the Bible. Like,
I agree with that.
Somehow found a way to lay low here.
I agree, but I still think that once we get a new HOH, like he's like a firecracker. Like it only takes a little bit of a spark, and he's just gonna blow up. But anyway, let's talk about Paul.
Okay, so we've got on Christmas's side, we have Paul very, very firmly on Christmas's side. We also have Matt and Raven, who immediately, as soon as these renominations happened, they were very upset. Matt has confirmed multiple times there is never any way that he is writing down Christmas's name, evicting Christmas. Raven concurs with that statement. So she's Christmas has 3 votes there. They also seem to have Dominique locked up. Dominique seems very firmly on Christmas's side. And Paul has got Kevin seemingly on board as well. So I would tentatively give that group, this seems like a good 5 solid votes for Christmas that don't seem very changeable. Elena also seems on board with that. But there's a lot of tension between her and Mark. It could theoretically go another way. I would say 6. I don't know. Would you guys say 6 locked in or 5 with Elena?
I think Elena's not. I mean, it's like, she was the one that helped like Christmas change into a bikini when Christmas came back and couldn't like do it herself on crutches. Like, she's so close to Christmas. She has no relationship with Jillian. Like, and she's just not a strategic thinker on the level that Mark is. Like, Mark's logical arguments and pitches, like, they ring true to me, but they're falling on deaf ears to Elena. I'm seeing it. So they're just like, it's not registering on the level that they need to register for her to want to think about it and really make that flip.
And she's really close to Matt and Raven more than anything, Elena. Yeah. So I feel like she's going to go along with what they want. So I feel like that Christmas has 6 solid votes. That's what I would say at this point. That's what I said last night. And I still think that today. Ironically, one of the votes, though, that I was counting on is a little bit flipped. I have Dominique more as committed to keeping Christmas than I do have Josh. I still feel like Josh is peelable. And I don't know about you guys, but I feel like the thing that Jillian, there's 2 things going on. I feel like Christmas more than anything needs to work on Mark. That's the vote that she needs to get. And I feel like Jillian needs to go on a date with Josh. Like, I'm serious. I'm not lying.
He's married.
What, Josh?
Oh, no, sorry. I thought you said Jason.
No, she needs to go on a date with Josh and just be nice to him and schmooze him and make him feel great. I feel like she could get his vote and then drop him once the week's over.
Well, that's the other thing that's crazy to me. It's like the one vote Christmas can't count on is Jason. And it's like, man, like, what do you have to do? Like, this guy, if anything, he owes her a vote. I mean, this guy was responsible for her boob popping out on the first night of feeds. It was all his fault. This guy's responsible for her breaking her foot. Like, what does this guy have to do? And then he's still not going to vote for her to stay. Like, come on, man. You owe her that.
Yeah. That's Paul was saying to Christmas, I'm not sure about Jay. I feel like Jason is not going to be voting with you. And she's like, he broke my foot and he is not going to be voting for me. I'm going to cut his jugular.
Right. They were
you could tell she was playing the game right away. Like, even though she's all hopped up on painkillers when she came in and she was slurring her words, she was like, Jay, no guilt. I don't want to hear it. Don't, none of the guilt. You're fine. And I'm just like, oh, she's like playing the game right now. She knows, she's remembering she's on the block. And she knows if she was like telling Jason, like, you're a dick right now, then it's not going to help her
I feel
out.
like he is kind of being a dick. Like, and I feel like he's buying what Cody is selling. Jason doesn't even realize that if Cody had to make a renomination, Jason was going to be the guy. Like, Jason keeps saying, well, Cody did me a solid, so that's why I want to do this. I want to, and plus I like Jillian, so I want to keep her. But that's not the reason. Paul's trying to talk some sense in him. A lot of tension between Paul and Jason right now. Paul and Christmas, and Paul says he's not. This is hilarious to me. Paul keeps saying he's not campaigning for Christmas to stay. Bitch, please sit down. Like, I know a campaigner when I see one, and you're it. So just own it. I feel like the more he denies it, the worse it looks. But seriously, Paul and Christmas are trying to talk to Jason while Alex is in the room right as we came onto the show. And I feel like they made a little bit of headway, but at least they're giving him the tough love right now. Like, they're not just, ignoring the fact that they might have a problem on their hands.
Yeah, Jason.
I think since he was forced to drop the pendant of protection, Paul has been cockier. And I wonder, like, in a week or 2 weeks, if we're going to see something to a point where, like, he will be targeted hard as soon as that safety is up. Because if he remains, having the conversations he's having where he's like, still telling people to their face, like, but now I can't trust you because your actions don't represent, you know what I mean? Like,
yes,
he's not doing any degree of attempt to, like, work his way back in. He's knowing now that he has safety, and he's like putting himself on a pedestal, which is like not the way back into the group.
He's acting very Netta-like.
Short term, but yeah, right. It is reminding me of Netta too much. I don't like it.
I mean, he keeps talking about, like, you turned me on, like you flipped the switch. I'm not in standby anymore. I'm full force into this game, and you shouldn't be, Paul. And
he's reminding them of all the worst things. Like, oh, come on, you all know if it was me, a vet, a returning player who almost won the game up on the block against Jillian. Like, Paul, these are all facts you want them to forget. Stop reminding them of them. Like, it's just not good for you.
It's like everything he talked about a few days ago when he's like, I learned this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. It was all forgotten. And we always get this same thing where, like, players who should know better, they come up with I had no choice. I was targeted day one. I had no choice but to play this way. No, especially because of the fact that you have immunity for 3 weeks. You absolutely can play that way. I know it's important for you to get Christmas safe, and I think that you can do that without doing all this craziness, and you just like the way that you're doing it, the way that he's doing it is just it's very abrasive. It's
very abrasive.
Like the way that he talks to people, it's just like, look, no. I know what's up. Here, you need to listen to me. This is how the game works. And it's not really rubbing people the wrong way yet. I think
that's what I was gonna say. It's like somehow, people aren't bothered by it. Like Raven and Elena are just groveling. Like, we're so sorry. Like, no matter how much he's like, well, I guess I have to be a free agent now. They're like, but you don't. It's like,
don't say that,
dude.
Yes.
You've got great newbies in there for you. You're really set up nicely if you could just, stay the course, I think. But can he do that? I think that remains to be a bit of a question here.
Yeah, the best thing for Paul, I think, would be, he successfully saves Christmas, and then somebody like Josh wins HOH, and Josh goes crazy, and Paul is able to just be like, all right, I need to chill out for a second and just, fade back into the background.
Yeah.
Paul wants to win HOH. He wants to have this. He has this elaborate plan. He's doing the same thing Cody did. Like, I've got this plan. I'm not going to tell you about it yet, but trust me, it's going to be awesome. Like, dude.
That worked out so well the first time.
And you made the point about like them saying, Paul saying I have no choice, people saying I have no choice to justify these decisions that in hindsight look really bad. And it's fun. I mean, you do get it all the time. And I think the best example is that Cody himself was saying I had no choice. When it's like, dude, you can't. I know you had to nominate a lot of people. There's still a lot more people. Of course you had choices. Right. Can't say that. You just can't.
I want to talk more about Cody in like a few minutes, but I want to go through the rest of these people who are like pro Jillian, because like I still don't understand how Ramses avoided the block. And it was funny when Cody was thinking about having to make another nomination. Ramses was at least one of the people that he was thinking about, but eventually he told Jessica that if he had to do it, it was going to be Jason. But again, Ramses is doing something right. I don't know.
Yeah, the alliance was Megan, Alex, and Ramses. Somehow Jillian's on the block every time, and Ramses safe.
So Jillian has some votes in her favor.
Right.
Jessica is standing by Cody. She is fully on board. She's going to be voting out Christmas. We also have Alex and Jason, who, my God, when I hear them talk about, like, they're trying to figure out what's going on. Is this all some sort of a game? Are they playing us? Is this a big ruse? Like, they have such a weird understanding of the game right now. It's infuriating to listen to. They have no idea. They're so confusing. Every time Jason talks to anybody on the field, like, okay, Paul, what's happening right now? Are you in league with Cody? Was this all some elaborate scheme? What? What are you talking about? Why does he think this? They have such a crazy read on the house. But despite all, like, they have this really, really crazy read on the house. They're like, why is Paul trying to save Christmas? Why do you think he just got put up? He almost got put up by Cody. It's ridiculous. But they're ultimately defaulting to, like, well, why don't we just save our ally in Jillian and just evict Chris? Like, that's where they currently stand at the moment. Again, Paul is trying to flip them, but they're currently firmly on board with keeping Jillian.
And I think, at least Jason, I heard him acknowledge at one point, I believe to Cody, that he gets, or at least he thinks he gets what Cody saw by nominating Paul, that Paul is someone that's, if there is someone who's truly at the epicenter of the house, talking to everyone, establishing social connections with everyone, he believes it is Paul. So, yeah, I mean, Jason, Paul is trying to pull in Jason the same way he's really done a good job of pulling in Kevin. But I think Jason seems like he's less amenable to working with Paul than he is with Cody for some reason. And I don't know really necessarily what that connection is about, but that seems to be the case.
Well, the thing is, I think he's actually more amenable to working with Paul than he is Cody. I think both him and Alex are saying we'd rather work with Paul, but we have this weird thing where we want to work with Paul rather than Cody. But Paul is trying to evict our friend, and Cody is trying to save them.
Right.
So where are we supposed to go? Why? That's what's confusing them.
Paul is all over the place lately, where it's like, since the nominations, like, obviously Cody's like, oh, I don't have any power anymore. So he's just kind of like relegated himself to the bedroom. So, Paul's a lot more visible right now. So, he's more front of mind.
That's the other thing that's hurting Christmas, I think, with people like Alex and Jason, is they look at somebody like Paul and they think he's double dealing, like that he's trying to play all sides, and they don't really trust Paul. So, I mean, his words, when he's trying to talk sense into them, privately they're saying, we don't trust the guy. That's why we're not willing to acquiesce to what he wants us to do.
Yeah. So that's 3 votes for Jillian. We also have Mark, who very much wants to stick by Cody. He, as we've mentioned, we had this whole thing with Dominique's show where Christmas asked about his relationship with Elena. He was very angry at her, and then the next day she's on the block. So he was like, "All right, this is great." He wants to evict Christmas, but he's got this conflict with Elena where Elena does not want to evict Christmas, and it's very strange for a showmance to be voting opposite of each other. So there's a lot of tension there. There's been a lot of arguments. And then also Mark feels like, well, now that I've hesitated, am I going to be screwed either way if Christmas stays? So we have Mark constantly going to Paul and being like, I'm 100% on board to keep Christmas.
Which he should not be. I mean, I guess he should be, but he needs some, in order for him to feel good about keeping Christmas. Christmas needs to realize that Mark needs to hear something from her. That's the issue. Both Paul and Christmas seem to be sort of oblivious to the fact that Mark needs to hear, hey, Mark, we're not going to come after you if we win HOH. And Mark thinks that he might be like target number 3, that, if they go after Cody and Jessica, if one of them wins the veto, who's going to go up? Maybe Mark. And I feel like that's why he...
not wrong.
I don't know, but I feel like there's just so much fluidity right now in the House. But more than anything, I feel like that if those two would just talk, I do feel like that this vote could be more secure.
Yeah, so
hard to say definitively right now, but like if I had to guess, I feel like Mark is not going to stick with Cody and Jessica unless Elena and Matt, or like at least Elena is coming with him. Yes. I think he's not going to want to hang them out to dry, but if nobody else is on board, I think Mark is going to be the kind of guy that tucks his tail and goes with the majority.
Well, here's the tricky thing about where Mark stands, right? So we also have Josh and we have Ramses, who seem to be, for the most part, leaning toward keeping Jillian at the moment. I think they are swayable.
Yes.
I think that they could go either way. They haven't really committed either way yet, so they are really up in the air. But if I was just like counting votes, I think Alex and Jason probably have more pull with the two of them than anyone else, and so they would probably try to get them in, and I would expect that they would go with them. So that would leave the vote as 6-5 with Mark as the deciding vote. And Mark has told Cody, look, if the numbers are there, I have to vote with them. I can't hang myself out to dry. And he's also said he's talked lots of times with Elena, we have to make sure we're on the same page. We should be voting together. So we could see him in a position where he's the deciding vote. It's not the numbers are there. It's, if I vote this way with Elena, then Christmas stays. If I vote this way against Elena and against Christmas, then it's a tie and Cody sends Christmas home. This could be a very interesting dilemma.
And it's so interesting.
Really interesting first vote here.
Right, because Mark was saying...
Sorry, Cameron.
Mark was saying earlier on the feeds that he doesn't want to make a big move. He just wants to get the House back together and feel like he likes what he had before. He's like, can we have that? Because I felt really good about that. Like the 9-person like mega alliance. Like, dude, that was so sweet. Like the old.
I just want a time machine.
Yes. Until Cody blew it all to smithereens. Like, yeah, he really doesn't want to make a big move, and I don't think he wants to be the swing vote. I mean, of course, many people would like to be the swing vote. Mark is not one of them.
Yeah, if anyone still, like 2 days later, is desperately trying to pick up the pieces of the broken Fabergé egg and glue it back together, it's Mark. Like, he really, really is like, oh, we had such a good thing. Like, let's get it back. And other people are lamenting that they had a good thing. But, like, Matt and Raven are like, we had such a good thing, but it's dead. It's done. Now it's over. And Elena's like, RIP my game and all this stuff. And it's like, all right. But Jessica, I mean, give her credit. She's the one who was trying to get them in the right frame of mind after the whole thing happened. Like, but it's done. I didn't agree with the decision either. But it's done. So what are we going to do about it? And they're like, my game's killed. It's like, but what are you going to do about it? Like, yeah, that is frustrating because
I think it's going to be really hard.
Move forward. Yeah.
I think it's really hard for them to work together because they're openly going to be trying to keep someone who is coming after Cody and Jessica, and Jessica knows it. I agree with you about Alex, about Jessica. I gave her props on the show last night because she was the one of her group who was able to calm everybody down and say, look, like we need to deal with the situation at hand. We can't wish it to be another way. This is how it is. And she's like, I'm sorry, it sucks, but we should evict Christmas here, and I want her gone. I like that she's being a little bit more affirmative about it today. But more than anything, I feel like that if anybody can get them on the same page, it's Jessica.
Yeah, and I get that it's tough to hear that from the girl who's banging him upstairs every night. I get that. Like, you don't necessarily want to assume that it's hard to separate the two in your mind. You know what I mean? But so that's why it would be great if someone else could articulate that point. But it's like nobody else seems to have like the wherewithal and the game knowledge and the, skill. Because Mark has like the knowledge of what should happen, but he doesn't have like the delivery that Jessica has a way of communicating that Mark seems to like not be able to do. He just like puts his head in his hands like, but that's not what, like he's struggling sometimes for like the right words to get his point across.
Yeah. Mark has this interesting way, like when he gets upset and he doesn't really know how to communicate, he just goes like,
He has this great vacant stare. Yeah.
He
like
pouts
1,000 yards.
Yeah. Like, what was I going to say? Though this is the funny thing to me. So Cody obviously wants Christmas gone. He wants to keep Jillian. But let's assume that, like, out of nowhere, Jillian wins HOH in a roll the ball and seeing what number it lands in competition. I mean, who do we think she's putting up? I mean, Christmas would be out of the house at that point. Yeah. Paul is safe. Who's she going to nominate? I feel like her group's probably going to tell her Cody. So
yeah, she's going to listen to Alex and Ramses.
Yeah. So what the hell? It's so weird this week. But it's very, very fun though.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, and the chat did point out Ramses has talked to Jillian and he has promised her his vote, so it does seem as though that is where Ramses' vote is going to go.
Yes, but he's been a little shady.
Yes, I do still think it's up in the air. I think that if he was approached by a majority and they were like, look, we already have the votes, you need to come on board with us, I think he would.
Oh, in a heartbeat. Yes, he's trying to find out right now where the votes are. And that's the best part, because somebody like Ramses is a follower at this point in the game. He just wants to be on the right side of the numbers, but he can't tell where the numbers are. And we can't even tell where the numbers are. So, of course, someone like Ramses doesn't know what the hell is going on in the house. And I think it's really going to be interesting watching him to see if he might make a move to shoot himself in the foot here. I think it could happen.
Yeah, so
I feel like he's going to win the game now that the majority blew up there. Like Ramses, just go ahead and pencil him in. He's the kind of guy that's going to win now that it all fell apart.
I don't know. He's being very shady because he keeps slipping up, honey. He keeps slipping up because he said
he makes these small mistakes, and then someone makes a huge blow up, and everyone forgets about little like Ramsey things.
I still feel like that once the game moves along a little bit, and we get rid of some of these crazies, I still feel like they're going to turn around and look like, man, this guy keeps saying that he's not really a fan, that his brother's the super fan, but he says these things, and only a fan would say them, and he's too smart. And also he's been called out by a few people, even in his own alliance. Alex and Jason, I saw just an hour ago, were saying that, Ramses walks into a room and is sort of fishing for information, but doesn't give anything back. Playing like you want to play, but you don't want people to notice that you're not giving them information. At least tell them something that makes it look like you're telling them something. You know what I mean?
Yes. It sounds like you're describing Steve Moses in week 1 right now.
Yes, it's the Steve strategy. Yeah. Well, you know who's playing the absolute best game? Kevin, because it's week 1 and we haven't mentioned him.
There you go.
And the only time we mention him is for like things that don't have to do with games. So that in week 1, that means you're playing the best game.
My favorite Kevin moment of the feeds, I'm sorry, I just have to say this really quickly, was Paul, again, Rob's right. Kevin is at his best when he's incredulous. So Paul said to Kevin, so who do you think has the curse? Kevin says, the curse? We're all fucking cursed. We're stuck in this fucking house. Oh, this is great. I love him so much. And I'm trying not to love him. Like, I don't like to love the guy who I think is probably going to be penciled in for like final 3 and then evicted, just like Jerry. But he's so cool. He's just so cool.
Yeah, he is. And I think he does have more game than a lot of his archetype usually does.
That's true.
Granted, Jerry did as well. Jerry played that game. People forget that. But still, not the most likely to be winning the game, I think, at this point. But I didn't expect to love Kevin, but I do love Kevin. But when we're talking about this vote, like, let's wrap up the talk about the vote. It does seem as though right now, the 2 important swing votes are Josh and Mark. So if Christmas is able to swing Josh, if she's able to like maybe get Paul, or not Paul, but maybe get Kevin to assist with pulling over Josh, maybe there's a chance. Then I think that they're good. They'll also pull in Mark at that point, or they'll have to rely on Mark, which I think is a little bit dubious. So this is this is up in the air as far as I'm concerned.
I feel like Josh is set to keep Christmas. I really do, especially after this whole thing with the foot. People feel sympathy for her. She's been real sweet to him. Like, I mean, remember, like back to the was it the first episode or second episode? After he voted to evict Christmas, Josh was one of the 3 votes to evict Christmas. Or sorry, 2 votes to evict Christmas. He said, hey, I really judged her wrong. She's really sweet to me. She has a little bit of a motherly part to her. I feel like that like sits well with somebody like Josh. So again, I feel like Christmas has the votes as we speak. I feel like she has 7 votes, and that's without Mark. I feel like she has 7 votes, and she just needs to hold them.
Yeah, I mean, I talked about on the daily updates, I think on the first one, I think I talked about Christmas seems to have a good relationship with Josh. She is one of the only people that has been spending separate time for him to talk to him through like his difficulties, and how it's very valuable to pick up somebody like that. They can be very useful down the line, and immediately he is coming into use if this is able to pull off, if she's able to pull it off in the way that she's trying to, where like this time that she put in with Josh is like 2 days later, like, oh my God, he is the swing vote for me to stay in this game.
Right.
That is how important it is to pay attention to these people that you think are just like, they're the pariah. We don't need to pay attention to them. It's important. You need to pay attention to these people.
It is important.
Well, yeah, I mean,
sorry, just really quickly, it might end up being like a 9-3 vote, but ultimately it is going to come back to this vote, I feel like, if she does stay, because the other 2 will, like Mark and even somebody like Ramses, will just be pile-on votes who say, I want to be with the numbers. But I feel like more than anything, her relationship with Josh and actually taking the time to talk with somebody like that, who you think is unimportant in the game, that's when she's really doing some really great work there.
Well, I agree, but I would say like if there's any other person who's taken that time to spend time with Josh in this game, it's the person she's up on the block against. So, I mean, I think there's that element there too, but not just spending time with people, how you make them feel in those moments, like how they leave those moments is important too. And if he's leaving those conversations with Jillian, like, oh, this is boring, I'm going to see what's going on in that other room, versus leaving a conversation with Christmas, like, oh, I feel better about the way I was feeling before, then that's going to play a major factor. So
Jillian's a little
we'll
pouty,
see how the week unfolds. Jillian, right? That's the problem. Is like, you can't win people to your cause with please. You know what I mean? Like it comes off desperate. And I think she doesn't recognize that desperation, or, like begging is not the path to staying in the Big Brother house. We've seen it time and time again. Like it's never going to work. You need to make people realize like why it's beneficial for their game for you to stay. Like that's what we always come back to, and that's something she's not really taking the time
I hated her yesterday when she was talking to Josh, saying, well, I'm the only person who's been your friend, kind of making him feel bad and saying, obviously
know that, but you don't say that. Like,
right? You'd be a traitor to, if you actually evicted me, you'd be such a traitor, and just terrible gameplay, girl, terrible.
Yeah, it's interesting that we've been talking about Pow Pow, because I really feel like this is an interesting situation where Jillian is in danger largely because of a completely erratic HOH reign, where like Pow Pow should have been the perennial pawn in Big Brother 16, but she ends up going home because of crazy Devin. Mm-hmm. And now we're seeing a similar thing where Jillian should be in this game until like Final 5. But she potentially is going home in the first week partly because somebody quit, and there, that's something in and of itself. But also because Cody decided to make this crazy erratic move, and now all of a sudden it's this person that should be like skating by for a long time is now in danger.
To be fair, you had your pick of the litter of pawns on BB16. I mean, you really had a pretty open field to choose from. You had your you had options.
I guess so. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about Cody and his whole HOH reign here, because we talked a lot about this emotionless robot serial killer. He had his sights set on Paul, and he puts up Megan. Megan goes home. He's like, great, twofer. And then he goes for he puts up Alex because she will not give him anything. I don't think he ever really intended to let Alex go home here. I think he was really hoping that Alex would win this veto. There's actually been a little bit of talk. Did he throw the veto? Did he just try a little less hard when he knew Alex was doing well? We're not entirely. He's basically said, I saw Alex doing well and I stopped trying as hard. Which is like, isn't that basically a throw?
Yep.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of good drama on Wednesday's episode, obviously. But the thing I'm most looking forward to seeing is like, to what degree did Cody, lay down to let Alex basically like undermine his entire game, as it turns out. Like he really like played a major role in his own downfall here.
Yeah, so somebody in the chat say like they don't think Cody's move was erratic to target the vet. Like that's the good move. Like it's not necessarily the move of targeting Paul. It's the move of not saying a word of it to his alliance and not listening to what they had to say.
Yeah,
and
it's a great move. It's a great move if you can pull it off. Like if he had talked to his alliance, said, "This is my plan. I want to get the vet out. He's played before. He's got to the end. He's dangerous. I feel like he's sowing seeds of distrust between our alliance and our group. And I feel like that one of us should win. Somebody who's playing for the first time should win." If he had said that to them, I feel like that would have been great and get everybody on the same page and then nominate Paul. Of course, Paul would have blocked it with his pendant, but still, it would have been a good play. What he did was just totally blindside his alliance. They had no idea this was coming. The most hilarious thing to me was on the feeds, people like Alex and Jason knew or suspected that Paul was going to be the renom, but somehow his own alliance didn't even know what the hell was going on. They thought he was going to nominate Whistlenut. Jason. So I'll stop calling him that. Sorry.
Yeah, that was very weird that like usually we see the HOH, like the last conversations they have before noms is just shoring up with like the people they're close to. But the last people he talked to were the people that we thought were his targets, that the people we thought he was going against. So that was very strange that they kind of got like the last information before he went to noms, which, yeah, if I'm his alliance, I'm wondering, what the hell? Like, are we, how am I not on the inner circle of communication?
Right.
And I mean, yeah, it really is. It's just so bizarre on so many levels. Yeah.
He's gotten so much heat from his alliance and from other people in the house, like Paul, saying that Cody's double dealing. Like Cody's made deals with other people. He's telling Jason that you're an idiot. Cody's only using you right now. Like if he has the chance, or if Jessica wins HOH, she's going to nominate your ass, which is correct. That's who Jessica would nominate. But Jason is unable to see it. So I feel like that Cody is benefiting from some of his erratic gameplay and also obviously really, really suffering for most of it.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah. And the other thing is that obviously if you don't consult your alliance, not only do you lose that trust, but there's a benefit to group consensus, right? Is that you're bringing a lot of minds together, and you might get through conversation, you might come to a realization that you don't come to by yourself, such as, what if he has the temptation? Maybe let's talk about what happens in that scenario, because it sounds like from every, we haven't seen the ceremony yet, but he made it sound like I was totally shocked. I had no idea. There was like not even an inkling in my mind this could happen. So the Christmas renom happened because he had no clue what to do. And if he had known that his alliance, was adamantly against it, that would have helped. But also, if you just get in a room with like 8 people and talk, or 7 people, somebody's probably going to eventually ask like, yo, what if he has the temptation though? Like, let's just have a backup plan on the table. But you don't get that if you refuse to like have that conversation with people and you just do it all in your head.
You just need to trust me. I know what I'm doing. This is all going to work out. Don't worry about it.
No, you need to develop contingencies upon contingencies. Robot Marine Alpha.
And he doesn't even understand like why his alliance is upset with him. He legitimately is like, at first his line was like, okay, I succeeded. I put the target on myself. I succeeded in my plan. And then he moved on from that to like, you know what? Well, the whole point of doing this was to see who was truly loyal to me in the first place. To now I see where people's true colors are. And it's so much nonsense. Like, I needed to take out these people. I needed Alex and Jason in the game to take out people like Jessica and Raven. Matt, like that's the point of doing all this. Like he has so many different reasons and like all this nonsense, like excuses. I'm just hearing a lot of victim noises from Cody.
It's desperate spin to to try to cover up the fact that he's gonna look like an idiot on national television. There's no way around that, man. I agree. You can try to spin it however you want, but this was a bad move. Everyone who knows Big Brother knows it, dude. Sorry.
Yeah, and I mean, to be fair, he's mostly, saying all these victim noises to Jessica and letting Jessica go out and do damage control for him. And she's a lot better at it than he is. So there's something happening there. He does still have people wanting to work with him in the future, even though they're not working with him on this vote. They appreciate the fact that he tried to protect them. And they're like, well, he's not an enemy. He did this dumb thing to try to protect me, and I need to go against it. But
but they're also not willing to go to the mat for him because he blindsided them. That's part of the reason. Like, I think it was Elena who thought that if Christmas somehow had a temptation, that Elena was going to be the third pick. That because she's by her own deduction, she's like, well, I'm closest to Christmas, and so obviously he probably would have picked me. So it makes your own alliance feel like that there's a chance that at any time you could do something crazy, and it's like a soldier in the field who just starts shooting at his own team. Like, you don't want that guy with you. Get rid of him.
And and even Alex and Jason were talking about it, who aren't on his team, just saying like, look what he just did to his own allies. Do we want to be his allies? You know what I mean? Like, they were people that he protected despite everyone saying target them. Well, not Alex, but Jason. Well, I guess you could make the argument, Alex, if he threw the veto. We'll see how hard he threw it. But yeah, so I mean, these are the people he put in all this, like, he destroyed his game to build goodwill with. And even they're like, dude, I don't want anything to do with that. So
exactly,
it's really backfired.
And I think it goes back to the same concept that, like, this guy, when he approached Mark was like, oh, I didn't even know that you liked me. But apparently you had this great feeling about me. It's Cody, I think, just lacks an emotional intelligence where, like, he just doesn't understand that, like, in his mind, it was like, yeah, us 7. These 7 people, they know I have their backs. Like, they're going to understand that they're the people that I'm working with. But from Elena's point of view, it was like, I feel like I was just the same as Paul and Christmas. They felt the same amount of comfort that I did in this group, but they got blindsided. So how can I feel like I'm not going to be blindsided? And Cody just doesn't understand that. Like, he doesn't understand that people would feel that way. You can't just, make people feel comfortable all the same and then be like, no, these people, I was always loyal to these people. Don't you understand that? I've always been loyal to you. I've shown that, haven't I, with my actions? Like, no, you haven't shown them with anything.
It is so bizarre. It's like he feels like one of the rules of HOH is you're not allowed to discuss your nominations. Like, that's what it feels like. Because, like, it just doesn't make any logical sense, like, why you would do this. And not, like, you even with a military background, you should know that, like, you reconvene and, like, what you get the intel before you operate. Like, I just don't get it, man.
Yes. Despite this, I don't think he's necessarily in a whole lot of trouble next week. I think that people will just kind of, like, as long as he doesn't lose his cool with people like Mark and Matt and all of them, they don't plan on going after Cody. They're also not going to stick up for him. If somebody like Christmas or Paul or somebody like that, if they win, they will be going after Cody. And Mark and Matt and them, they're just going to be like, all right, we're good. We're not going to stand in your way. But if Mark wins, and Mark really wants to win, Mark feels like, I need to win in order to prevent these two sides from going after each other. I need to continue to go after the Alexes and the Jasons of the world, in order to preserve these two groups that both have my interests at heart. He doesn't want, two people who are not going after you. You don't want them going after each other when there is a group of people that is potentially going after you in Alex and Jason and the outsiders. So it's an interesting dynamic. There's kind of like 4 different kind of groups with different, like, Venn diagrams of people in all of them, when they all have different interests and they're all coming after different people. And I think it'll be a little more solidified by the time we get to the vote this week. But man, lots of stuff going on.
And it's interesting because all the time Cody's talking about, like, well, I did this so that they'll target me and not you guys, stuff like that. But it's like, Matt has had to remind him a couple times, like, you don't get to choose that. That's not your choice to make. Like, whoever's HOH chooses the nominees and the House chooses who goes home. Like, you don't just get to, like, make that call. And so, I mean, I think, like, what I could easily see happening is, like, him going up with Jessica, and then during all that time they're sitting up there with Cody's, like, obviously the target. People are like, Cody's credibility is shot. He's got nothing left to do. And Jessica has a lot more ins with a lot of people. Like, I would hate to be attached to Cody right now, because even if Cody is not necessarily, like, the immediate target, like, his credibility is shot. And by extension, yours really kind of is too. And, like, to lesser and lesser degrees, like, kind of the further removed you get from him. But the people closest to him are just, like, stuck in automatic damage control at this point in the game.
Yeah. Jessica, I feel like, she's doing decent damage control. She's trying to keep people together. Exactly.
She'll go up with him, and then it's like, oh, wow, Jessica does decent damage control, and Cody's an idiot. We know that. Like,
yeah,
it's so bad. It's a terrible position.
I think Jessica could be in a lot of danger. I feel like I feel like Paul at Christmas, like they're gonna go after Cody, but Jessica could easily be collateral damage, or she could easily be the secret target. You never know. You know, Paul has this crazy plan. Maybe that plan is to get Jessica out and leave Cody in as this blatant target who's good at competitions and totally erratic. You know, you never know.
Well, Cody did.
Jessica without Cody is like she blends back in, right? Like she didn't make the erratic move. She just stood by it. But now that Cody's gone, she's a loyal person. Bring her back in, reel her back in. She's not going to make crazy moves. She's just going to be a loyal asset to your team. That's a dangerous person. If you're talking about like if you take out Jessica, Cody remains where he is. So I think people will see that.
Yeah, sometimes you get the, Jeremy Maguire, Caitlyn back to back, but sometimes you get the David Gurton and then Aaron hangs around forever. So you got to be careful about that for sure.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about the Den of Temptation stuff. So we know Paul got this pendant of protection, and the curse ends up landing on Ramses. Man, like from Ramses' perspective here, like this is the worst, right? Like when in the history of Big Brother has it literally just been randomly drawn? You have to go up on the block.
And for those of you who don't know what's happening, we covered this a bit last night, but it was still unclear. We got a little bit more information today. Ramses has to nominate himself as the third nominee anytime in the first 3 weeks. Obviously, he didn't do it this week. When did the Den of Temptation? That happened after Noms, right? Yeah. I forget. So does this week count? So is this one of his weeks? I guess that's what I'm asking.
I'm not sure. I would assume so.
He got it Sunday. Yeah.
But it happened before renoms, certainly.
Because it certainly counted as one of Paul's weeks for safety. So I would have to imagine it also counts as one of Ramses' weeks.
Yeah, I guess. I'm not sure though. Because I felt like he got it after the nominations were in place, or certainly after Alex was nominated. And so I don't know if he could have, because and the other thing I was questioning that still hasn't really come out is he can put himself up before veto. So at least he has a chance to win veto and pull himself off. He doesn't have to sit up there on eviction night as a third option. That's what I need to be clear about.
Rule amendments and clauses and fun stuff.
I think he can still win veto. I think what happens is he has to put himself up on the block sometime after or during the nomination ceremony, but before the veto ceremony, and then and that's why this week probably still counts. And then he theoretically can still win the veto, pull himself off, and then I imagine then they'll be left with 2 nominations.
And apparently, if you're wondering, yes, if he is the HOH. And it's like week 3 and he happens to win HOH, he would still have to go on the block at that point, and he could name 2 other nominees to put up against himself. And if there was a tie, he could break the tie in his own favor. So there you go.
That's so unfair.
Is that for real?
Yeah.
It's terrible.
That's ridiculous.
And I have to wonder, man, like why was Paul, when Paul's choosing random vials, why are they numbers on the back and not their names? Like, the whole thing is corresponded to, like you say, like they're going to be like, oh, these numbers represent each house guest. You can't even tell us which ones they are.
Really?
Right?
That's a really good call. Yeah.
What's that about, man?
They could have had their names down the back, like written vertically. They could have.
I don't think it's shady. I just think it looks shady, and I don't think you want that. You know what I mean? Like CBS has no reason to set Ramsey up for failure, but like,
thank you.
It comes off that way, right? Like any twist that comes off like you're blatantly rigging it for one person and against another is just a bad look.
Well, we're gonna see it on Wednesday night, so we'll see how bad it looks then. We're gonna see.
Yeah. And I talked about this. I talked about this last night, but I really feel like why not just give Paul both the temptation and the curse? You're safe for 3 weeks, but then sometime in the next 3 weeks, you have to go up on the block. I feel like that is a good balanced option with legitimate consequences. And I still feel like most people would be like, you know what? Especially if I'm Paul, who's a vet, who could easily be targeted in these early weeks, maybe that's worth taking. And then you have to face the consequences after you get this. That feels so right to me. Ramses randomly getting picked to get this curse and have to go up on the block seems very wrong to me.
Yeah, no, I like that. Or you really want to get crazy, Big Brother? How about this? Paul gets the temptation. Everyone else gets the curse. In the next 3 weeks, they have to do it. Like we could have 10 people on the block 1 week. Big Brother UK does it all the time, where the whole house is up for eviction. Like, go that way if you want to get crazy. But you're right. I mean, make it a kind of thing where everyone's gonna be mad at Paul. It's not just like, oh well, I did the random thing, and it's just like Curb Your Enthusiasm noise. What can you do?
By the way, speaking of Paul, Cody is really pissed again, making victim noises, Taran, about how Paul has gotten off squeaky clean from lying to everybody about the fact that he had the temptation. And by the way, Paul was the one who was bringing it up the most, saying, who do you think has the temptation? Well, it's not one of us, so it has to be one of them. And then, of course, it was exposed that he was lying to them the entire time, and Cody's really pissed about the fact that Paul's probably done a pretty effective job at saying, I just couldn't tell you guys because I didn't feel good about it, and I wanted to pull it out when somebody tried to backstab me, which is exactly what Cody did.
Yeah, and I feel like most people understand. Like, yeah, if I got the temptation and I didn't have to tell people about it, I wouldn't either. And I think, people are saying like that there is a natural drawback, Taran. The social consequences of getting a temptation and then hiding it from people. Like,
no.
The problem is, if everybody is going to be offered a temptation at some point, every single week it's going to happen, then nobody's going to be ostracized for it because it happens to
3 weeks,
everyone.
it'll be, like just another thing. Right.
Yeah. It's the same thing as a care package, essentially. It's a care package, but there's also somebody who randomly gets punished. It's like, what happens when it's a fan favorite who gets punished by one of these random curses, right? Like we get to this, I forget what it's called, the stop thing. Brent, do you remember what this was called?
Halting hex.
The halting hex, right? You can stop an eviction, just the week is canceled, essentially, right? Like, what's the curse of that? Like,
I think it'd be the cloak of cancellation.
Is it like quick? I don't know. Whatever it is. Like, if somebody is legitimately randomly getting punished for this, like say Kevin, right? Maybe Kevin gets completely just random luck of the draw. Kevin, you're on the block. And then it's like, all right, well, I guess we'll send Kevin home because of whatever. Like, that nobody wants to see that happen. Like, we want to see it happen if Kevin makes a decision that then gets a curse on himself, and then like at least there's something there that it's like at least it's his fault. But just like pick a number 1 through 15. Oh, you're gone.
Yeah, that's not a consequence because you didn't do anything to like earn it. You know what I mean? Like, a consequence should be like, someone is directly affected by their reward if it's a temptation. I mean, you made the point last night. It's just the den of gifts at that point.
Yeah. I agree. Look, the reason I'm not as incredulous as you guys is because I understand what they're doing here, and the fact of the matter is that they really want all of these things released into the house. They don't want there to be any wiggle room about this. They don't want maybe he takes it, maybe he doesn't. If I'm Paul and I'm the one who's going to get the curse, like I'm safe for 3 weeks, but then in the next 3 weeks I have to nominate myself. I feel like there's a chance that Paul's looking at the game board and says to himself, my social game is pretty good. I feel good about my big alliance. I don't need that right now. And that's not what they want. They want people to take it. So it's the den of gifts.
We all did love Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. So
they said preseason that they expected that things could go either way. They had contingency plans for either direction. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. If Paul turns this down, that's a perfectly acceptable outcome. And then if he does get backdoored, it's like, wow, should have taken it. I think that's just as much drama. I think there are still people who are going to take it. If somebody's in a desperate situation and the audience gives them the temptation and they're like, I have to take this safety now, it's going to screw me later, but that's crazy. And like, that's drama. I feel like that's even more exciting in terms of what they're looking for. But I know I'm preaching to nobody because nobody's listening.
Well, you're preaching to the choir here, and then out there, you're preaching to people who are tired of hearing about it. Yeah. Exactly. No win outcome.
All right. Another thing I want to bring up is that we've talked about it briefly on some of these updates. Megan is out of the house, but we still have not heard anything from Cameron, which does suggest to me, especially since Cameron, he's a super fan. I feel like Cameron would be all over the place in terms of on Twitter. He'd be like, hey, can I get on RHAP? He's an RHAP fan. Where's Cameron? He seems to be still in sequester.
I don't know, but if Christmas were to go out this week, he's looking like a strong #1 seed for the battle back. Me and Rob were talking about this earlier today. He's going to compete against nobody and Christmas with broken foot. So looking good for Cameron at that point.
Yeah, I mean, is it a battle back? I feel like if it was a battle back, we would have been told, right? I feel like it's got to be a temptation, right? It's got to be another temptation where it's like you take this, and guess what? Cameron comes back into the house. Is it gonna be in the next 2 weeks? Probably not. I don't see how it's the opposite of any of the ones that we've mentioned.
I feel like it could be the opposite of the halting hex. Like if you cancel an eviction, like that's a lot of power. I feel like the downside of that is that somebody else is going to come back to the house, and the fact that they lost Megan, I feel like they'd be okay with that.
I mean, I would actually like that too, because like it would be poetic justice, right? Like the way he went out was this like stupid, ridiculous twist where like a returning player comes back. So I mean, for him to like re-enter the same way and now feel like, I mean, he'll have like gotten his jitters out at that point. I feel like he's going to come in with more of like a I don't give an F type of attitude, and I think it'd be interesting to see what dynamic that brings to the
somebody
house.
asked me on Twitter, like, if Cameron came back, do you feel like that it would just be a revolving door? The answer is no. I feel like there's so much craziness in the house right now. I feel like they'd like to see, it'd be like, oh, Cameron, we're so happy to see you, and by the way, there's a lot of people on Twitter who really don't want Cameron to come back and are tired of us wishing that he came back, so I'm going to shut up to make those people happy.
Well, he'll probably come back and win the game and Taran win the draft that way.
Shea Jenkins is not she's not a Cameron fan.
It's funny because he was in the house for like less than 12 hours. They mentioned like, what if Cody goes out, or sorry, what if Christmas goes out? And I think it was Cody was like, well, they'd probably bring Carmen back. Like, they don't even remember his name.
No, and like Matt was talking earlier today, and he was like, "It's gonna be our first vote." Like, he doesn't even remember Cameron, like that they voted somebody out already. Like he's just completely an afterthought. Right. If you're not on the memory wall, I think you become forgotten pretty quickly. Unfortunately,
I would say, again, I am terribly against people coming back. I'd hate buybacks. I don't think I'd never want to see somebody who came back into the game win the game. I think this is the very rare instance where it's such a weird and unfair thing to go out on night one. If Cameron comes back, I'm willing to say fresh slate. It's just like he got like a couple weeks of immunity, but he also gets the disadvantage of not being able to integrate with the house.
Let me ask you this question though. Like, let's say the vote went the other way and Jillian was the one who went out of the house. Like, would you be, if it was Jillian, would you be saying that about her?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
I said this. I wanted Glenn to come back. I was rooting for Glenn. I mean, he was never going to win that battle back, but like I would have wanted Glenn to come back. I legitimately, it's the first time this happened with Jody. I felt so terrible for Jody. Anyone that goes out night one, like bring them back. I hate night one evictions. Bring them all back. But obviously, especially somebody like Cameron, this is his dream. He was so devastated.
I hear you. I do think that, first of all, I agree with you. He's a super fan. He would have been on Twitter, been on Reddit. He would have said, this is my experience. This is why I'm pissed. He'd been given interviews. He would have contacted Rob. Like he obviously he's in sequester right now. So the question is he going to come back via a temptation, or is there a battle back? I don't necessarily agree with you, Taran, that they would have told us. Big Brother doesn't tell us a lot of stuff sometimes. Every year they have a buyback in terms of the jury, and every year they act like it's a new thing, like
expect the unexpected.
Yeah, exactly. Just because someone's evicted, they may not necessarily be out of the game. Like, I mean, they
wonder what that means.
I know, right? They're not famous for telling us stuff, and then I don't remember them telling us about Battleback last year either. So, right?
I'm pretty sure they did. Right?
Did they? I don't know.
At a point they did, but I don't think they did right away.
Okay, I'd have to think.
I don't remember.
Rob's fact checker, get on that.
I do know this. I think Rob has told me that it looks like there's like at least a couple Friday shows confirmed for down the road. So
yes.
They're going to do something with those Friday shows, whether or not they're all Ziggy Marley concerts or there is actually some battle back action in there. I don't know, but
good time.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it makes sense. The whole point is temptation. I feel like it's got to be play into the temptation theme at some point. Maybe the temptation is like, oh, you take this temptation and it starts the battle back,
right?
Or something like that.
But, really quickly, like I think this is not something that's good. That's going to be like the the takeover, where it's gone at like basically after a couple weeks. I feel like this is going to continue for a long time, and the reason is because they put it in the freaking intro. Like, have you guys seen the intro for this season? It's like power, temptation, money. Like, it's all in the intro right at the beginning, and then they show the house guests. So I feel like that they've really sold out whole hog on this whole Den of Temptation thing, and it's not going to go away anytime soon.
Yeah, and they spent a lot of money on the voiceover.
Oh my God, give him a break. Christmas. There's no Mike Bell.
Come into the Den of Temptation. Yeah.
Watch out for the phantoms.
I hope that guy comes on Twitter and calls you out for making fun of it.
I hope he does too.
Somebody,
Amazing.
One of the serpents call you out on Twitter, Alex?
No, it turns out that was a patron. I didn't understand the prank.
Do you want well, go ahead and explain that for people who don't know? That was really funny, actually.
It was funny. I just didn't get it. Like, I was just like tweeting a joke, like, who are these randoms holding fruit when they were like going through that whole first night thing, and then someone's like, I don't know, something like, at least I can get a job holding fruit in the Big Brother backyard. It's like, at least my job's exciting or something. And I was like, oh, dude, if I was offered to hold fruit in the Big Brother backyard, I would totally take that opportunity. Like, obviously, I'm just shading. I'm an equal opportunity shader on Twitter. That's what I do. Like, I don't know why you're expecting me not to do that. But turns out it wasn't even a fruit snake. So
yeah, it wasn't even somebody who was in the backyard. It wasn't one of the
patron
just
playing games. Which good on you. Yeah.
All
right. Well, Rob is not here. So I figured great opportunity to finally talk about this draft.
Oh, my God. You said the D word.
Yes. All right. Yeah, Rob can't stop me.
Den of temptation.
We had a lot of people asking, this is the LFC podcast. We did the LFC draft on this podcast. So what happens with the draft? A lot of people are asking in terms of what happens with our draft and also what happens with their. Lots of people do drafts. The general consensus seems to be replace Cameron with Paul. Reddit did it. A lot of other people did it. I put out a poll. What should happen with the LFC draft? Should Paul replace the person that gets evicted night one? The vote was like 75% or 70% to 30%. People in favor of replacing Cameron with Paul.
But that was before there was an option for people to replace Megan with Paul.
I heard a lot of victim noises from Alex in particular, and some from Brent as well. So look, I don't want to.
I don't hear any from you. You're 5-0.
See, this is what I'm talking about. Look, I put it to the audience. I said, audience, what do you want to see? What's most entertaining for you? They chose. And look, these guys, they don't care about the audience. They just want to win the draft.
I will just say really
Cameron's
quickly.
coming back in the house.
I will say this really quickly. Yeah, you're not going to get Cameron and Paul, honey. I want to say really quickly that I saw you put out your poll, which I'm tired of seeing, by the way. And
look, people
just dangles it out there from time to time.
The people that respond to your poll are basically teenage girls who think you're really cute and gay boys who are probably around 35 who think you're really cute.
See, this is the cliche response, like, oh, they're just the fangirls, Taran. Like, how insulting!
I wish I had a glove so I could throw it down right now.
Anyone who participated in that poll, I am so sorry for Alex and Brent insinuating that you have no mind of your own, that you're blinded by my mediocre beauty, and that you have to just vote for me. It wasn't even clear that Cameron was leaving when I put out that poll, and the votes were already like that. And the person that comes up with our graphic for the draft, they conducted their own independent poll, which had the same results. Reddit has the same results.
Fabulous.
Everybody has the same results.
Fabulous. I don't even care because Paul's not winning this game. I really don't care. I really don't care about this. However, I wanted to say to you guys really quickly.
You can have Paul, but I'm taking Cameron if he comes back.
Okay, yeah, that can be on the table.
Noises.
Yes, I know, right?
Alex is so salty.
We each lost a house guest through unconventional means, as far as I'm concerned, right at the beginning of the game. So
I'm keeping my team. I don't care. I have faith in Josh.
No, look, okay, look. It's very clear that if I do this, Alex is just gonna hate me forever. I don't want to make Alex upset. So if Alex wants to go against the audience, I will leave.
I don't hate you. I think my equity is higher if I get Cameron.
I agree. Yeah, I'm cool with it. I'm actually cool with it.
Buyback Cameron is looking like a good pick for me.
You can propose things that the audience did not vote on, but I would prefer to stick with how the audience voted. But I understand that Alex is very upset about this, so I will leave Paul off the draft board. Paul can stay undrafted. I will keep my team the way it is.
What I was going to say was, I don't know if you noticed.
Tyler Kakuno is going to this draft. Let's just agree no matter what happens.
I think that's a good possibility.
Jordan Parhar is no longer the host of these, so Tyler Kakuno does not have an in.
Yeah. I don't know if you noticed on Sunday's show, I finally got a question about my looks. They said, fabulous haircut, Brent. So I'm tired of people sending in questions, say, Taran, are you single? Which, by the way, we never got an answer to, by the way. I just want to point that out. Taran, you look so cute.
Deliberately ambiguous, Brent.
Yeah, I know. But I appreciate the person who complimented my haircut. Thank you.
Well, I would say myself, I think your haircut is amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Taran. Thank you.
Haircut. Looking good.
I saw someone compliment Taran's curl in the chat room the other night, last night.
God.
Yeah, you got that one curl. Look at it's coming on. It's coming along nicely there.
Y'all are thirsty.
I honestly I'm like I really need a haircut. It looks awful, and people are like, "Oh, your curls." I'm like, "Oh,
The curl.
all right." So yeah, please, you need to watch the video. You need to see Brent's amazing haircut, and you need to see my ridiculous curls, I guess. I don't know.
And my no hair. Check it out. It's amazing.
You need to see Alex's hoodie.
Okay, I feel like we've lost like half the listeners at this point. So let's move along.
If they made it this far, they're in it.
This is what this podcast is for. It's for a little bit of camaraderie and also bitterness.
Yes, I like the bitterness.
Yeah. All right. So there's the draft talk. The general consensus, anyway, if you are conducting your own draft, feel free to swap in Cameron for Paul. That is what most people seem to agree is the fair thing to do, even though Alex doesn't agree. So we're just going to go by what Alex says. Anyway, moving on to the Stockwatch. Let's go through. This is we're not going up or down from what we originally thought. I guess we can go from preseason, but that doesn't. I think we should just set a baseline. Are we high on people? Are we middle of the road on people?
At the start of every season, Wall Street opens up anew. So everyone's like on equal shares.
Here's the thing. I'm just going to say this. Rob gave us the never cared option when we did the cast assessment, and I never picked never cared because I feel like you have to make a call. So, I mean, I feel like that on balance, you either have to, it's like Roger Ebert and Gene Siskel at the movies. It's either thumbs up or thumbs down, people. That's all there is.
I feel like because a lot of times it's like nothing has changed since last week. You know what I mean? Like they haven't improved or gone down.
Well, I guess, I mean, actually there were preseason favorites and stuff. So it's not accurate that when the game starts, everyone's at 0. Like certainly coming in, like I think Kevin is a great buy now. Like Kevin, nobody had Kevin going into the game as like any kind of like, maybe people thought he would go far as like an ignorant, like, just a silly character, but like, I think Kevin could win this game potentially. I think Kevin has respect a lot of people in there on a level that Jerry and people never did. I could easily see a scenario where someone drags Kevin to final 3 and then he wins one final thing and wins the game. So like Kevin was someone that no one had any thought could possibly win this a week ago. And now I think he could. So that's a good example of someone to buy, I think.
I think there are a lot of Kevin fans that are like, what are you talking, Alex? What are you talking about?
Well, I think even they like loved him as a character, but even the people that loved him coming in were like, oh, he's going to be so much fun, but he's going to be like a Karen. Like they didn't think he had a real chance to win. I think they're sleeping on that possibility, to be perfectly honest.
All right, well, let's start with Kevin. Do we feel, Brent, do you agree that Kevin has a non-zero shot to win this?
I do. Yeah, he's actually really fit. I know that we think of him like, oh, he's the kooky old man, but he has a hot body underneath there. Like as someone who is dating, not dating, has a partner. I know, right? Someone who is my partner is 20 years my senior. So Kevin's looking good, man. I gotta give it up to him. He was didn't he win some? He won some like thing on Geraldo, like he was Mr. Hot America or something.
It's like Mr. Massachusetts or something.
Something like that. Yeah, good for him. Yeah, and I really thought that when he took his shirt off initially, like it was just going to be mostly flab, but it is not. He's actually has a pretty good body. So good for him.
Yeah, I mean, he reminds me of one of those like comic book supervillains that doesn't actually have powers, like a Kingpin or someone, where like it's just like a dude in a suit. But if like push comes to shove and you take out all his henchmen, like he's gonna take off the suit and actually fight. And you're like, oh, he actually has some skill there. Like he's got more behind him than you thought, just because he's used to talking and doing things, that way. Like you don't think he's capable, but I think Kevin could surprise some people.
This is like the perfectly stereotypical LFC analysis. Brent comments on how he looks and like, oh, he's actually pretty handsome. Alex comments on this ridiculous. Yeah, this ridiculous, like he's a comic book villain. You take out his henchmen.
Alex is famous for his metaphors. Yes, exactly.
And something Luthor-esque about him. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I guess then I'll talk about how I see him fitting in the game. I do think that he's definitely more impressive than I think anybody really was giving him credit for. He has this good secret alliance with Paul. It's not an official. There's really no official alliances in the house at the moment. But he does have a good deal with Paul. Paul knows that he took the $25,000. He's keeping that secret. They're giving each other information. Paul is like, hey, chill out. Dominique is onto how smart you are. You need to play more dumb. And Kevin is giving Paul some information. He's looking out for Paul. It's a very good combo. I really like this move by Paul. Hopefully he doesn't blow it by playing too hard this week. But I do like where Kevin sits here. He's in good with a lot of people. He's never brought up as a target. And I could see him pulling out some competition wins toward the end of the game, and I could see him making some moves, betraying some people. So I would not count Kevin out. I don't think he's your typical older person in the cast. I don't think he's got the best shot to win. I still think he's got some work to do to get the respect of the jury. But I think he definitely is capable of doing it. So
the stock is cheap, though. Yeah, by now.
Watch out, Kevin. All right, so let's move on. Let's go straight to Paul here. I feel like Paul has gone up and down and all over the place this week. But where do we want to land on Paul, Brent?
Thumbs down for Paul for me. I like elements of his game and I like some things that he's doing. However, I just do not believe that this guy can get to the end again. I really don't. I may have some egg on my face for saying that, but I feel like he's just making himself to be too big of a target. And he, especially the fact that his safety is out in the open, as we noted earlier, he has been pretty cocky. He's very much of a strong-arming guy when he's trying to get you to do what he wants. And he's definitely someone who's not going to be riding shotgun. He's going to want to be a leader. He's going to want to call the shots. Those kind of people never make it to the end of the game. Well, I won't say never, but they rarely do they. I really do not think that Paul is going to. Paul may not even make jury. I don't know. Possible.
Yeah, I mean, Paul's coming in with a ton of thunder, but, you know, if Paul's a stock, he's like the .coms in the early 2000s where, like, people are buying and buying and buying and buying, but that bubble is going to burst sometime, and it's probably sooner and not later, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, he does have some time to come back under the radar. Is he capable of doing that? I don't know. I don't think so. I think he's been turned on, and now he doesn't know how to shut himself off. So I'm not super high on it. But again, he is still a vet, and he still has some weeks of safety ahead of him. And he still has really good relationships with people in the house. He's still in a really good position. So I wouldn't count him out by any means. I'm still up just by default, I think. But I do think he's on the way down. So maybe not the best time to buy in terms of stock, but watch out. I think he could maintain his position. And if some things change, some things shift in the house, he could theoretically go back up at some point. But don't buy him anytime soon. But also don't count him out. That's what
with Paul, we're seeing a good example of how, you know, the same action from two different people in two different circumstances or two different seasons don't necessarily lead to the same results in Big Brother. So, I mean, it's very hard to talk about what's the right move and what's the wrong move in any given situation because it's also circumstantial. What Paul's doing right now, I mean, you know, kind of saying like, I don't know who to trust to people's faces and really telling them like, you know, as opposed to just like thinking it and taking a step back and like being more tentative, he's really coming out guns blazing. And, you know, if he didn't have the charisma he has or the pull he has, that could lead to, I mean, we've seen that lead to people being isolated and, you know, cut off in the house before. But because of the nature of Paul's reputation and what he's established in that house, like people are bending over backwards to try to get back in his good graces. So for at least for now, it's good.
Yeah, I mentioned on Twitter that I thought that I'm not happy with what Paul's doing. He needs to slow down. And John Densford on Twitter actually made a really good point to me. He said, this is the same thing he did last season when he was betrayed by Jadley. He got back in their good graces immediately and then beat it down into the ground and lost it again, which I feel like this is kind of what's happening here. He got put up by Cody. He's got a lot of sympathy. People are on his side. They're like, you know, he's such a great guy, but he's still working. He doesn't need to be working anymore. He's already got them back on his side. He doesn't need to be pushing this beating it into the ground, but he is. Right. And I feel like that's it's in his nature. He gets too excitable and then he can't shut himself off. So anyway, there's Paul. Let's move on to Christmas. You know, Paul has a good relationship with Christmas. They've talked about having some kind of like good deal, similar to the one I think he has with Kevin, where it's like, hey, we're good with each other. It's kind of like a final two, so to speak. So. However, she is on the block. As we mentioned in the beginning of this podcast, it is still somewhat up in the air whether or not she'll even stay this week. But how do we feel about Christmas as a whole, Alex?
I would be, I feel like I'd have to say sell on Christmas because I feel like she was a popular pick coming in. So maybe relative to the field, she was probably like the price would be high. And then, man, I mean, now that she's on crutches, I think that does like take away a big element of what her game is, which is like the ability to win a must-need comp. I think, you know, like you can make the comparison to like, you know, Tyson in Survivor Blood versus Water, or John Party in Big Brother Canada 2, about like somebody gets an injury that was seen as a physical threat, and then potentially that actually like helps them in the sense that they, you know, are able to go under the radar where they weren't before, and then, you know, win towards the end. But I think with both of those were shoulder injuries. Like those are the kinds of things you can operate through. We'll see like to what degree this hampers Christmas. It's possible it won't, but man, she's real loopy today. Like she's on a lot of pain meds clearly. And she's a tough girl. Like she's not small either. Like it takes a good amount of pain meds to get a woman like Christmas that messed up, because she's slurring her words and stuff today. So yeah. I truly believe that like this could potentially be something that hampers her ability to in comps for a few weeks. And if that's the case, then I'm concerned for her ability to win if she needs to.
Brent, do you agree?
Feet are tricky.
Yeah, I'd have to say on balance, I'm probably thumbs down on Christmas. I don't like the fact that she injured herself. I feel like that, you know, it's going to take away a lot of her identity. I feel like maybe even she might start to lose confidence. On the other hand, you know, maybe it is the drugs. And I did notice her slurring her words. So I guess it's a stupid question to ask. Is she on drugs? I guess the question was, is she on drugs continuously? Like, I know they gave her something today. Is she going to be on these same things tomorrow and still be slurring her words? But anyway.
It's so funny when she was like, sorry, guys, I know you all wish you were me right now.
I know, right? Yeah, that was great.
You're so bored.
Oh yeah, I know. But like I said, thumbs down on her, because I feel like we still need more information on her. Like, what's the extent of this injury? But I will call my shot. She is going to stay this week. Jason and Paul have been talking on the feeds, and Jason, it looks like Paul is doing some good work. I don't know if I like how he's doing the work, but he has basically hammered it into Jason's head that they need to keep Christmas, and Jason seems amenable to doing that. So that may be another vote that Jillian has lost.
I guess I'll be the dissenting opinion twice in a row. I do feel I feel high on Christmas. I like the fact that she was injured. I feel like this is the best thing that could have happened to her game. I think that the reason anybody would have been scared of her is this idea that she's so physical and that she's going to be really good in competitions. And now nobody is going to be worried about Christmas. She is going. It's such an asset to not be seen as a comp threat in Big Brother. And I really think that's a great thing for her. As long as she's able to not be pulled from the game because of this, as long as she survives this vote, I think her trajectory is way up. I think the only danger is in the fact that Paul is still immune. So anybody going after Paul might still get her in the crossfire. But again, in terms of like avoiding all these kind of like weird scenarios where she goes out through not like entirely her own fault, I really feel like she is on the upward trajectory. I'm buying Christmas stock. I like the fact that she's not going to be seen as a threat anymore. So
I mean, I can see it. I feel like, you know, I'm hesitant to want to assume that, because like I said, I mean, you know, I've broken an arm, and it's nothing compared to, like, you can take a shower with a broken arm. You can really operate with a broken arm. A broken foot
on
is
crutches.
Like, if this ends up limiting her, with every step is agony. I mean, it's just so much worse than breaking a hand or a wrist or a shoulder. So I'm going to play the wait and see game here. I'm very concerned.
All right, let's move on to, so here's somebody I think is an interesting person to talk about. Raven. She's in an interesting spot here. Raven, she has this disease. Brent, you have the name of it, right?
Gastro something Perius. Basically, her intestines do not contract the way they're supposed to. Like your intestines. Your intestines.
Big brother intestines. Yes.
Yeah, your intestines contract and expand when they're moving through food through your body. Her intestines are paralyzed, so they don't work like normal intestines work. That's why she has her pacemaker to keep things moving. It's like right in her abdomen, and she is happy to show everybody. You can actually, it's actually visible from the outside, her pacemaker. Hashtag pacer power. I am high on Raven, and here's the reason why. I feel like she's just someone who people like, and they want to be around, and they like her energy. And I've talked about it before. It's so funny how she moves in the house. She just moves like a dancer, and I do not worry about her ever really getting into a fight with people and making them hate her. I know that she is a bit emotional. I feel like this vote for Christmas to stay is a bit emotional. So I don't love that. However, I feel like that more than anything, these first few weeks, it's just about getting people to like you and not causing any drama. And I feel like she's doing that.
Yeah, I mean, right. I think like the general consensus across the board on Raven is like this girl doesn't have a mean bone in her body, and maybe like down the stretch, that's not going to be conducive to winning the game, but it should be conducive to getting her at least halfway without any or much trouble.
Yeah, it's one of those rare situations where we have a lot of people saying we want Raven to win. We would like to see Raven win the game, and include this person, including Matt himself, who's in this showmance with Raven. He said
Matt.
he wants to get the jury in order to make sure that Raven wins this game. I know, Alex, you've taken a lot of flack for this because you're.
Well, I really hoped he was lying, but I hadn't really. I was behind on feeds. Like that's why I was out yesterday. So getting caught up on feeds, like no, I don't. Like I said, I don't really know the guy. I've never met him. So listening to him, no, I don't think he's lying anymore. He's saying that a lot, and he really believes like I have a great life to go back to. Like I have no problems. Like, dude, what happened to that competitive guy in the video package that was all ready to come in and win, man? Like, come on. If you're not gonna go in and play to win, like what are you doing in there? Like this does bother me. No matter who it is, it would bother me.
Granted, here's the thing. I think that it's very easy to say this. If it comes down to it, people usually don't throw their game away for somebody else. I'm not willing to say like, I'm not willing to say like, screw Matt. He's not in it to win until he actually
it's a great lie. You know what I mean? Like that's something you want people to believe, probably, right? That you're not playing for yourself. If you can sell it and you don't mean it, that's good. But
right.
If you mean it, that's bad.
I don't think he's lying. But I don't necessarily think that he's going to follow through with this. Right. And I don't think anybody is going to. I don't think Cody is going to follow. I don't think anybody is following through with, oh, we'll just like let her win the game. We'll all lie down and let her walk over us.
Yeah, dude, I said last night they're eventually going to wake up. By the way, the name of her disease is intestinal pseudo-obstruction gastroparesis, something like that. I can't pronounce the last word. But that just to give everybody the technical term for it, the pacemaker regulates the way her stomach moves food through her body. And by the way, as I mentioned last night, she did get the never not pass, so she's not ever going to be a have-not and have to deal with slop, so good for her. And I'm interested to see how that veto competition takes place on Wednesday to see if, did they will it to her essentially, or did she just sort of randomly win it? I have to think it's probably the former.
Yes, and I believe she also has another disease that is unnamed. I think I heard her talking about that. Yeah, she said that she was talking to Matt, and Matt was saying like, first thing we're gonna do is go and cure your unnamed disease, and then we'll work on the other one. She's got a lot of problems, and it's very compelling. Like she's like. I was not high on Raven going into the preseason.
She was picked last.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, and like I don't like commenting on like I like it better when people's hair is this way, but seriously, she looks like an entirely different person without her hair up, and it's like it feels like there's one person who came into this season, and there's another person who like has their hair down, is like talking about like facing mortality at such a young age. She feels like a burden to anyone that she runs into. She hates that feeling. It's been hard for her to have any sort of relationship because what guy is going to want to be with somebody who's such a burden on them? Like I am like just like quietly falling in love with Raven. So like don't mind me. But like I like where I feel like she's in a really great spot. Nobody's going to come for Raven anytime soon. I want her to get a little more backstabby. I want her to get her head in the game a little more. If she's able to do that, I think she can be really deadly. Is she capable of doing that? I don't think so, but I hope so.
This is
being a sweet girl will get you far in this game, but being a sweet girl who's like willing to carry a knife underneath that layer will win you this game.
Yeah, I agree. I'm still thinking back to our draft, like there were 16 people in the house. She was the 16th person selected. I mean, essentially, we dumped her on Melissa. That's what happened, you guys. I picked Alex before Raven, which I still can't even believe. But watching her preseason, she was a little bit too bubbly for me, and this is what happens sometimes. House guests, they get in the DR. Dominique, this also happened with Dominique, where they get in the interview room with Big Jeff and with the other places they interview, like Ica and K-Frog interviews, and they're just really high because they're happy to be there. But once they mellow out and sort of get into the flow of the house, they're just like normal people who are very inoffensive, and you grow to like and love. And I don't think they're ever going to let her get to the end. It says here that they're going to wake up at Final 5, Final 4, and say, we really can't let her get to the end if we want to have a shot of winning. I know what they're saying right now, but there's no way that's going to hold.
Yeah, I agree.
And it shouldn't.
Yes. So let's move on to her partner, Matt. I feel like Matt is another person. I am a lot higher on Matt than I was preseason, and it might be the other way around for most people. But I really like how genuine he feels.
Yes.
I was afraid that he was going to come off as really wolfy, really shady, but he's a really genuine guy in there, and it never seems like he's lying. And I don't think he has lied really at all yet. So let's go with Alex. How do you feel about Matt? How's your boy doing?
I guess I would say that I'm concerned about some of the things he's see, I had the expectations that everything he's doing well, he would be doing. I mean, just knowing his background, knowing the general atmosphere at the place he works. I mean, the salesmen know how to talk to people, dude. They really do. Every kind of person on every kind of level. I mean, they coach that. That's all they do. We sit there and practice pitching each other for hours at that job. And if the customer says this, you go this direction or this direction. I mean, you're taught in that business to play the homeowner like a game, essentially. I mean, I always knew Matt would be great at the social aspects of this game. So no, I think I'm down because I was very high on his chances. And now I'm seeing I don't want you to throw this game. I don't want you to be unwilling to break your word. There are certain things I was counting on him being willing to do that are going to be needed to progress him to the very end that now I'm concerned he's not capable of. So I think the fact I was too high before. So now I've got to temper.
Well, I was really low. I was with Taran. I thought he was going to be really bro-y and really bachelor-y, and I didn't really want to see a guy like that in a house. So the fact that he's really genuine and sincere and warm, I smile every time I see Matt on the feeds, and it's not because he's gorgeous and good-looking. It's because he's really a sweet guy who lets his walls down and is able, and is also a really good listener. That's the other tool that people often don't have in the Big Brother house. They're really good at talking to people. They're not very good at listening to people and making those people who are talking feel hey, I'm really listening to you and I'm getting what you're saying and I empathize with you. I feel like he's really good at that. So I'm with you, Taran. I was lower on Matt before, so I'm pretty high on him right now. I feel like he's got a decent shot to go far in the game.
Yeah, and I think the key element here, I do think he lacks a little bit of knowledge about the game, and I feel like if anything that might be a benefit to him right now, I feel like it's keeping him from being disingenuine, or to whatever the word is. Not genuine, but I like what he's doing, and I feel like this genuine version of Matt is going to get him decently far in the game, and then he is the kind of guy who down the line is going to all of a sudden flip a switch and be like, well, actually, now that I'm here, you're getting cut. And that's the guy that can win the game.
Oh,
so
exactly. That's what I would need to see.
It's like Matt, Raven, and Kevin at the end, and Matt's like, Raven, girl, bye.
Yeah.
Man,
I'm sorry, I'm living for that right now. I'm it takes me back to Big Brother 5.
So there we are. There we are with Matt. Let's move on to let's talk about Jillian. Jillian, she's basically nothing, right?
Boot.
What is Jillian doing?
She's getting feeds cut in her face. It's really bad.
Look, you guys, I'm sorry not to pile on, but if you guys are, actually, who am I talking to? I'm talking to two straight boys. Never mind. Yeah, there's a show on freaking YouTube called with Raja and Raven from RuPaul's Drag Race where they toot and boot. It's sort of like what we're doing right now with thumbs up, thumbs down. On the looks of the week. And I looked at when you brought up Jillian, I was instantly boot. This girl is just terrible. She's a terrible player. Do I think she got a little bit unlucky? Yes, but cry me a river. You're on Big Brother. You got the chance of a lifetime. Suck it up, Buttercup. And she just bitching about the fact that it's so unfair that Megan went home. I was campaigning against Megan. You didn't do shit. You just were hoping. You were watching when Megan blew up her game. That's what happened, okay? Stop begging to America. No one even knows who you are. We're not going to vote for you. Go away. Sorry.
Yeah, yes. She thinks she's been on the block 4 times now because she thinks it's separate, instant. No, you've been on the block actually, I guess technically twice, but just twice. That's all. And this idea that she was doing this specific kind of campaigning for Megan and now she's got to change up her strategy. You're sitting and now you're sitting. Come on. This is just hard to swallow.
Yeah.
I think we'd all be done a favor if this fluke does end up turning out with Jillian as the victim.
I just don't know why
Jillian.
she's there.
I don't either.
I don't understand. Like, what did
talking,
they see?
You guys, I was talking to my sister today who watches Big Brother, but she occasionally watches our show here. But she's not like a super fan. And she was like, I was bitching to her, and we were like, why? How did she even make it on the show? Like, people like, we know who are good people and fun and feisty can't make it on the show, and somehow this bitch did? Like, what did she do in casting that made them want to cast her?
I just don't understand it. Yeah, I mean, and like, my thinking with a lot of times with this is like, well, maybe she's got some really interesting, quirky, like Victoria Crow type stories that are going to come out in the wash. And we're just going to be like, oh, wow, that's amazing. Maybe she told that in casting and just blew their socks off. And now I get it. But like the one story she kind of told preseason was like this thing about how she went to Tijuana for liposuction. Yeah. And then the only story she's given us on the show is that she went to Tijuana for liposuction. And it's not a good story. And it's all she's got. And like, so I'm so out.
Well, she's missing the part where she got cursed, and anybody that sits next to her on the block now is going to be, they're just going to vanish because of that curse.
They just disappear. Yeah, exactly.
So there's Jillian. Let's talk about Cody. I feel like we're all pretty down on Cody, right?
Yeah.
We talked a lot about Cody's HOH reign. We know, how we feel about Cody at this point.
I do feel like, look, I'm down on him, okay? So thumbs down on Cody. I do feel like, though, that he is starting to realize a little bit like what he should have done, because the fact that he said, okay, I want to, if I have to make a renom, I'll stop saying that. Sorry, a renomination. If Christmas has to leave the game, he was said to Jessica, I would have nominated Jason. She was like, I love that idea. I'm a big fan of that. He's like, I just want to get the group back together and make everybody happy. I'm like, you could have done that the first time. Do you understand what happened? Like, I feel like some people have talked to him and they've sort of got through to him why this blew up in his face. And I feel like that, through some of the backpedaling that he's done, I feel like it's sort of sinking in what he should have done. But having said that, I still feel like he's not long for this game.
Cody is like a very wooden and pretentious Marine, but part of me wishes they would to find someone who was like a 20 to his 10, who was just like, all right, the play is called Operation, and like in this case, it would obviously be Operation Kamikaze because that's what he's done to his game. But I mean, like, that would be cool. I want someone who's like calling their plays and giving them titles like that. That's a level of absurdity I could get behind.
Yeah, I'm on board with you guys. Pretty down on Cody here. Let's move on to Jessica. I feel again, we talked a little bit about Jessica. I'm not happy with what she's doing. I feel like she's in a lot of trouble if she if Cody leaves. I feel like Jessica can do a reset. I think she has the social capital. I feel like she has the ability, but I really feel like a lot of people, especially, I mean, Alex talked about it too. I'm not taking out Cody. I'm taking out Jessica first. A lot of people are targeting her first, and I feel like that's where she's going to be in trouble.
Yeah, and I also feel like that, what we're all thinking is that there's a great possibility that Cody could win the veto, and then Jessica would really be in dire straits. So I don't like some of the things that she's done. I also, I thought that when Cody essentially blew up the house, I feel like there was a moment or two where Jessica was thinking about leaving him essentially, but she can't because it's like a house, so it's hard to leave someone like that so overtly. But I feel like if she did, sort of remove herself from Cody's bed, then I feel like her game would probably be doing a lot better at this point. If she could say, hey, he's nuts. I can't work with him. He blindsided me too. Christmas, I'm your biggest fan. I feel like there was a moment where she could have saved elements of her game. And I feel like that moment is past now.
Timing is everything. Also doesn't help that she had sex with him for the first time the night before all that happened.
That's true.
Great.
Yeah. Not good.
Yeah, hard to separate at that point.
I feel like the move should have been, all right, let's all abandon Cody's plan. We'll all say, all of us, we're not going to evict Christmas. Yes. Screw Cody and what he did. That's how you keep the group together. Yes. And then Cody can be just like, Cody's crazy, but we don't need to go after him. There are still bigger threats than Cody. He still wants to protect most of us. We can keep him under control now. That's how they should have played it. Instead, they stuck by what Cody did. And, oh, man.
I feel like more than anything, though, like I feel like they dithered. Like they didn't make up their minds about, well, what is the play here? Like they're saying one thing to Paul, like, I haven't really made up my mind, but behind his back, they're really campaigning hard to get rid of Christmas. So I feel like that it's just not a good look. Like they could have, well, I'm going to stop saying they. Jessica could have saved most of her game by banding together and saying, you know what, we don't support that move. Christmas, you're our girl. You're with us. We're not going to evict you. Jillian, get the you know what out, and everything would have been okay. But now, not so much. I feel like there's a good possibility she could be pre-jury.
I agree.
She was put in a very tough position, and it is kind of silly that she is still loyal to Cody in a way, because Cody put her in this spot, and it's really unfair. And she's forced to, she has to go all in one way or the other. She can't waver, because she's going to lose everybody. So she picked a side. It's just unfortunate that, right? She either has to bury Cody and look disingenuous that way, or she has to go this way and then look like she's shady. It's really unfortunate for her game.
Yeah, I agree. And I feel like Mark is in a similar spot where Mark is also, he's hesitated. And so let's talk about Mark. I feel like he's done the same thing. I think the saving grace is that he's got Elena to back him up to some extent. Even though he's hesitated, if Christmas does end up staying, he can be lumped in with Elena, who is very steadfast sort of the whole way through, and that Christmas trusts Elena, so she can protect Mark, whereas Jessica is all on board the Cody train. But I don't like how Mark has handled this. I feel like he does have good instincts. He does have decent social graces in the house, but the way that he's handled this unfortunate situation, I feel like has put him in some danger. And if he's not, there's definitely a chance that this could drag him down. But I'm not super down on Mark as I am on Cody and Jessica. How do you feel, Alex?
Yeah, I agree. I like Mark's instincts, like you talked about. I think maybe less so his social graces. I think he's very good in people want to like Mark, right? He's very friendly and very warm and very open. But I think once you get deeper, and maybe now I'm talking about the strategic game and not the social game. Maybe we separate those, because you're right. Socially, he's very good. But I see all these times where, a conversation needs to get some kind of result. You know what I mean? The purpose of this talk is to convince someone of needing to change their vote, or to, make everyone realize that we should come together. I just don't know that that's ever going to be Mark's cup of tea. You know what I mean? He just doesn't seem like he has the verbiage, the language, the ability to articulate in a way that the message is going to be received and interpreted and internalized the way it needs to be for him to sell stuff in this house, in this game, the way it needs to be sold.
Yeah. By the way, the 4th of July fireworks are going off here, so I hope you guys aren't hearing that. I'm trying to block
I was expecting it any time around here, to be honest with you.
Okay, cool. So I'm trying to block it out as much as possible. But I agree with your take on Mark. That's actually a very astute observation about the way he communicates with people, because I do feel like there's a bit of a block there. He's just not willing to let his walls down sometimes, I feel like. I don't know. Well, I know some people in my life who are like this, where, it gets a little touchy or a little confrontational, and they just kind of shut down. I feel like that I wish that he would just sort of work through his issues and get to a result, rather than just continuing to fiddle while his game is burning. There's parts of his game that are great. Socially, I feel like he's a sweet guy. People like him. People want to like him. And obviously, he's a good-looking guy. So you're going to get more points that way. Especially in a house with a bunch of 20 and 30 somethings. But more than anything, I feel like he was strategically sound in that he recognized that, we don't like the fact that Cody put up Christmas, but we probably should vote her out. He wasn't being led by his heart. His head was at least telling him what to do. But then he's just kind of wavering, which is never a good look, especially in front of your own alliance.
Yeah. So let's move on to Elena, Mark's other half here, who is doing very different things. I'm pretty high on Elena, actually. I feel like she's doing decently well. She's talking way too much, for sure. But she's still in a good position. She's still protected by the Cody side of things. She's in good with Christmas and Paul. And, people like Alex and Jason are never coming after her anytime soon. I could see her as a sleeper threat down the line.
Yeah.
Do you agree, Brent?
I do agree. This is someone who I was not very high on coming into the season. I was high-ish on her. Obviously, I have her on my team, but I didn't think that she could win. Now I think she could win. I think there's a good shot that Elena, just as much of a chance as anybody could win, who is in my upper tier of people. She's sweet. She just makes people like her. I feel like people listen to her. I feel like she has good instincts for the game. what was it I wanted to say about Elena? Oh, I wanted to be equally offensive because, I always talk about the pink monster with Mark. So I'll at least talk about it with Elena. Elena claims that she had a breast reduction, which, I guess I have to believe her. But honey, even with that, oh my God! Like, I
where
don't
were
even
you
know
before? Right?
It's
Yeah.
like a gravity-defying act. How those things stay up.
Like two of the balloons from Up. Yeah, right.
Oh my goodness! And she doesn't even wear a bra sometimes, and they're still up. Oh Lord!
Yep. Buxom with brains. Deadly combination.
She's absolutely gorgeous. But I'm so amazed. I see her like not wearing a bra, and it's like, I guess when you're young, everything just stays nice and perky like that because it's amazing. So whatever. I was very taken with that.
Yeah, this is like it's like I'm watching the feeds right now. I'm just like, why are we talking about this? Can we just stop?
Yeah, I know, right? Oh well, I'm trying to have some fun.
Because we're petty people, Taran.
I never get to talk about the women. I'm always talking about the guys. So,
that's true.
Yeah.
Alex, how do you feel about Elena?
Yeah, I'm encouraged by what I'm seeing because I expected her to go in and not really know much about the game and be someone who is very attractive and is probably going to get in a showmance. Her mom was like, go in there and find a man, and you're like, no, don't do that, like in the key package thing. So I've been surprised because the expectations were so low, I think. But she's not like got a really good strategic mind, obviously, for the game because she's like, she's not receptive to some of the things Mark's talking about, where it's like you'd like to see someone at least like process that and talk about it for a while before just adamantly rejecting it if they're going to be someone who's going to be good at the game down the road. Like you always like to see the players that are like open to ideas, that are always listening, that are always wondering if they can improve their position. And I worry that Elena is going to find herself trapped wanting to be loyal to people that decide ultimately they want to be loyal to other people more than her. But until like something like that comes to a time, I think she's in a very, very safe position, and she's playing a very good social game. Like she's really tight with a lot of the girls, and she gets along really well with Mark, who's protecting her with a lot of the guys. So she's in great shape.
Okay, let's keep this moving. We'll move along to Dominique. I personally feel like Dominique is perhaps the best player in that house. But Alex, what do you think? What do you think of Dominique?
I think she's doing great, man. Like I drafted her kind of early, and this was what I was hoping for, to be perfectly honest. Like she's doing everything that I thought she could do, given, what she told us preseason, that like, look, like I am a nuclear engineer. I'm not going to tell them that. They don't need to know that I've risen in a field where I'm used to being the only woman, or I'm used to being the only black person. And like, this is not going to phase me. And it's not phasing her. She's in there. She's playing great. She's listening more than she's giving out. But when she is talking, people listen. People want to know. They want her input on things. When she enters a room and a conversation is happening, I hear a lot of this, like, oh, good, we were wondering what you were thinking about this. Let me run this by you. The conversation like never changes topics when she enters a room, almost no matter who it is. So, that tells me that she's really in a good spot. The couples are protecting her. And I think, like no matter how many HOHs people that aren't in the couples win, if they just want to keep taking dents at the couples, that's going to take a while before they get to Dominique. So I like her position.
Yeah, more than anybody, this is the person that I've really come around on. And I was so killed by various listeners because they didn't like my take on Dominique. But I was like, I took her for her word. Like whatever she said in her bio and in her interviews was not what she's doing in the house. And I'm glad for that, because I didn't like what she had to say in her interviews and in her bio. And I love what she's doing in the house right now. And she seems to be everybody's friend. Everyone seems to trust her. I don't think that has she ever been caught in a lie? I don't think so. So her, just like Matt, somebody who you view as honest and trustworthy, and someone that you would like to at least go a long way in the game with. Maybe not to the end, maybe not even like Final Four, but she's in no danger. And as long as she doesn't make a mistake, I feel like she's fine.
Yes, I think I will caution people. It's still very early on. She hasn't really had the screws put to her yet. We don't know how she'll handle things under pressure. But as of right now, I do feel like she is playing one of the best games in the house. I'm hopeful that this continues and that she's not going to reveal some weaknesses or some flaws later on.
She did admit to Paul that she's an engineer, which I wasn't loving. Yeah, like, Paul, why did you say that?
Perhaps not the best person to give that information to.
Nobody's the best person. If you lie about your occupation, that's an all summer lie now. You don't like get to leak that to one person ever because that's going to become public information in a matter of days. I don't care who it is. That's just
I really hated that when I heard her say that. I'm like, you were doing, like, I just gave her props on a previous podcast for lying about her occupation, and now you went. It's not the fact that engineer, which is what she said, is that big of a deal. It's just that you lied about it, and now you're gonna have to unlie, because I'm guarantee you that eventually is gonna come out. And like, what was that? This shows you how hard it is to keep a secret in the Big Brother house, because you're so flipping bored. Okay, this is why I was so impressed with Cody, that he wouldn't tell anybody what he was going to do, because you're so bored. You kind of want to just talk to somebody and tell them you have this thing that you want to tell them about, and she couldn't keep her mouth shut for longer than a week. So whatever.
And the people who never understand our fascination with Johnny Mac. I mean, obviously I always come back to it. How hard must that have been? 100 days. He pretended he didn't know anything about a game he's a really big fan of. Like, that's pretty crazy. I could not do that. I know that about myself. But yeah, I mean, I think this is why you don't tell unnecessary lies. Like, you made the game harder for nobody but yourself by doing that, by entering the game on a disingenuous level, because now you have to, like, in the back of your head, subconsciously be someone you're not. And that's like, it's just too long a game. Like, you're going to revert to your natural self at some point.
I feel like the best way to go about doing this, if you're concerned that your occupation is going to be detrimental or somehow impact your game, just sort of make up a half lie about it. Like, I'm an engineering assistant. Like, I assist the guy who makes all the big calls. That way you can still talk about your job. You can still talk about your life. You don't have to hide anything like that, but you don't have to tell him that you're the big dog. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Look, you never saw Derek tell Cody that he was a cop, right?
I know.
It doesn't matter how close you are. It doesn't matter. Like, you can make bonds without revealing secrets like that. Derek proved it. Like, just if you're gonna lie, keep the lie. Don't tell anyone. It's that simple.
Just do yourself a favor and make it a truth. If you really have to, like, hide your engineer thing, quit. Tell them you're going on Big Brother a month earlier than you are, and, like, take up a job at Starbucks for a month so you can claim barista, and then in your head, it's truth. So then you're not, like, you fooled yourself. The old, like, double bluff.
All right, let's move on to Ramses. I feel like, I mean, we talked about Ramses as well. He's in this weird spot. He was in a little bit of danger this week, but he did manage to squeeze by, but he does still have this curse. How are you feeling about Ramses, Brent?
I'm feeling, oh boy, how do I feel about Ramses? I mean, I'm going to say thumbs down. I'm not going to be fancy-fenced about it. I'll be thumbs down on Ramses, mainly because he got this curse and he's going to have to go up on the block sometime. And I feel like he's a juicy target if they're thinking straight. And he hasn't really connected with a lot of the people in the house. Like, he's there, he's inoffensive, but a lot of people are onto the fact that he is playing both sides. I know that Cody, in thinking of various people, if he had to nominate somebody else today, Ramses was one of the two people he was thinking of. He eventually settled on Jason, but he was thinking about Ramses first. I think that this is an older crowd that doesn't really, Ramses doesn't really fit in with a lot of them. And, I'm gonna say he's gonna be pre-jury.
Alex, do you agree with that?
I definitely agree. I don't know if I would go ahead and say he's going to be pre-jury. This house is just so chaotic that it's hard for me. Again, like I talked about earlier, it's like he will make these little things and people talk about him, but I just, every day it's like some huge thing that somebody else has done. So if that continues, then he's going to be able to maintain what he's doing. But I agree with Brent that I feel like you have to sell, because I was pretty high on him coming into the game, and I really liked what he was doing the first week. I mean, and I still, to a degree, I think what he's doing is good. I just think people are more perceptive of, people being in the room without talking, maybe than I gave them credit for initially. Like, I really like that he was doing that, but it seems like people are on to the fact that he's doing that. So that's obviously a problem eventually. And yeah, I'm with Brent. I mean, the fact that he now has this curse, he's going to have to put himself up. And at a point, I mean, certainly it will depend on who he's up there next to, but that just becomes kind of a tasty option. You're just like, well, yeah, sure. Okay. Well, it might as well be this week. Not as good as time as any. Like,
yeah. I know I made the comparison to Steve, but Steve was always much more proactive than I feel like Ramses is. And some people are comparing him to, like, maybe he's like a mini version of Andy, but Andy was involved in so many of those a lot. Andy was involved in everything. Ramses is involved in nothing.
Right. The chat room's calling him Andy. I'm like, you only, like, that doesn't even hold any water. Like, Andy was involved in every decision that was happening in the house and knew where all the pieces on the game board were at all times, and knew where all the bodies were buried. Like, Ramses doesn't know shit. He doesn't. I mean, he has no idea what some of the interpersonal relationships are of some of the people in the house right now.
I mean, here's the comparison, right? Like Andy definitely popped from room to room, was always like moving, was always listening more than he was talking. The big difference is that in each of those conversations, Andy was getting consulted. Like, Andy, what do you think? And he would give his feedback, but he would know exactly where you're at, and then he would leave and he would come back. But yeah, he was always a piece of the conversation. He wasn't just like an eavesdropper on the side there.
Okay, let's move on to Josh. I think we were all very high on Josh's entertainment value, but I feel like even that has gone down in my eyes, at least. Alex, how do you feel about Josh?
I mean, chilling, reading the Bible. It's good for your game because you're finally not making a big old target out of yourself, but it's not good feeds. I mean, we know that. So it's just one more of these instances, these examples of why people who end up winning the game usually aren't fan favorites, because this is the kind of thing that makes you a good player. You're able to just sit there in the first week and not do anything, but everyone's loving the people who aren't sitting there and not doing anything right now. So
right,
it's tough.
I agree. The funny part is the chat room saying that Ramses is really immature. I feel like Josh more than anybody is really immature. Ramses is like wise beyond his years, and maybe this person was referring to Josh. But the thing about Josh is that I feel like he's cool right now, but he's safe right now. Like, once you just put a little bit of kindling underneath him, I feel like he's really going to go off. So I still have high hopes for Team Good Feeds for Josh. As far as the player Josh, as long as the house continues to be like this, I feel like he's probably pretty set. He could be one of these, like I really want to go after a target and I need to throw somebody else up there who I don't care about. I'll put Josh up there. So he could be in danger that way. But he was my first draft pick. I have faith in him. He's going to make the jury.
I got to say, I was feeling for Josh at a point because, I feel like he is the most immature person in the house. And he's, from my perspective, at least, he's been a very, very family-oriented person his whole life. He's lived at home. And I sympathize with how hard it must be to be removed from what you've known for 24 years or whatever for extended amounts of time like that. I mean, it's clearly very hard for him. And, I think it's got to be tough when you're feeling like, you're feeling some kind of way and you're not, it's falling on deaf ears. And not to take anything away from what Mark was saying, because I absolutely understand what Mark's saying. But there's no such thing as comparative suffering, but there isn't, Josh is allowed to be sad, just like Mark is allowed to be sad. And it doesn't have to be like this or this, you know what I mean? That can be hard too, is I guess what I'm trying to say.
All right. Well, let's move on. Let's move on to
Murky
Jason.
Water.
Weird thing about Jason, we all had these expectations. Jason, he's going to be nothing coming into this game. And then I feel like, at least for me, I saw him and he was a lot better than I expected. He was funny. He seems to have his head in the game. He's involved in some, a lot of game talk, better than I expected. But then we have this thing happen where he's potentially going to go up on the block. He gets randomly saved. And then now he's just in Looneyville. What is Jason doing? Why does he think that this is all one big elaborate scheme? I can't understand his thought process. I'm not totally down on him yet. I feel like he still has some potential, but this is a weird thing.
Well, but see, I understand why they think there's some big elaborate plan, because it makes no sense what Cody did. And he's thinking like a logical person. He's
That's why it sucks so bad for his alliance and Jessica.
Yes, his alliance totally hates this. Are we being played here? Obviously, he wouldn't do this because his alliance doesn't support it. So I understand why, you're in the Big Brother house, you got nothing better to do. I understand why him and Alex have been are we the ones who are being played here? On the other hand, I agree with you, Taran. I had very low expectations. In fact, more than anything, this guy was like, oh my God, they cast another one of these guys again? Really? But he has surprised me with his ability to at least understand the way the game works and realize, listen to different arguments and distill them down into what is his best move in the game. I feel like that he's even willing to look past his obvious bond with Alex and vote with Paul if he feels like it's in his best interest. Paul, at this point anyway, has persuaded Jason to vote to save Christmas. And it's weird because now all of a sudden, and again, I don't think he's playing Paul here because he's going to have to pay the piper here pretty soon. So I don't feel like he would be blowing smoke up Paul's ass if he wasn't being truthful here. He's saying we can vote Jillian out. I can't even stand her. I'm like, I thought you liked her. Wasn't that the whole point of why you wanted to keep her around? She was your friend, but apparently not. So I give him credit. At least he's willing to change on a dime. He's not letting his heart guide his decisions.
Man, I'm going to tell you guys straight up. I think we're all snowed here. I think Whistlenuts is the most dangerous player in this game. I think he's incredibly devious. I think he showed that by being willing to break a competitor's foot to get himself ahead.
I was wondering where you were going.
Even by exposing her on the feeds. This man has to be stopped. He's a menace.
And you know what? He wasn't a good look too, because again, to paint the picture, I'm sure people are asking, so why is he at fault if Christmas broke her foot or did something to her ligaments? She was riding like piggyback on top of him. His ass slipped on the grass, and then
slipped.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, oh, good, break my fall.
And then this guy is. Then he like they took her to the diary room. Like they carried her into the diary room. I think it was like Cody and Matt or something that carried her into the DR. And then he just went to bed.
Yeah, he went back to sleep.
Yeah, he was like the last person to see she had come back to the house. Like, oh, you're back. Oh, that's good. I just woke up. Hope it's cool.
Yeah,
no, it's not cool.
Yeah, so I mean, Jason, I feel like better than expected, but still not in a great spot. It's hard to see him as a winner right now.
Yeah, I'd say thumbs down, but better than I thought he was.
Yeah, so let's move on to Alex. Man, Alex, she's the underdog right now. She has the respect of Cody, but man, her decision making in this house, it needs to change if she wants any shot of winning this thing. And it's hard to see her as a winner unless she really just like is really great at competitions and she just like goes on a spree or something.
Yeah, I agree with you. She's like, I give her thumbs up for team good feeds, thumbs down for gameplay, because I'm not seeing much here as far as gameplay goes. She's gonna have to be one of these people that learns fast. Like she's gonna have to get bamboozled early on in the game and like quickly pick up the pieces and say, you know what? I need to get my feet on the ground and think about this game because obviously the game's being played around me. Like, I feel like her worst scenario would be for someone like Jessica to win HOH next week, which is totally possible because she still has it out for her. But I think that most people, even if she votes against keeping Christmas, I don't really feel like Christmas is going to go after Alex. I don't feel like Christmas is going to go after Alex. I feel like that Christmas is going to go after Cody. So I feel like that unless Jessica wins, I feel like she's probably safe.
Yep. Cody's mistake was great for many people, bad for many people. If you were on his side, it wasn't good for you, but Alex wasn't. So it was good for her.
Yeah. So yeah, not super high on Alex here. And I believe that wraps up the Stockwatch. Tell me if I missed anyone. But I think we got everyone along the way. Chat, I'm not sure you can keep me honest.
We got everybody important.
If we forgot them, then they're playing a great game because we can't even think of them.
I guess. Did we talk about Jessica?
Yes, we did.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Never mind. Sorry. Okay.
Yeah. So this has been a long round table. Lots of stuff to check in with. But we're gonna skip the questions this time. We're already past 2 hours. But I hope this was enjoyable. I feel like we got into some good discussion here. Let me know if you have any ideas for a hashtag in the chat, or if either of you have a good idea for one.
I saw the Taven earlier. Taran and Raven. I like it.
I like it.
We're all showman success this season. We might as well go for it.
Here's the thing about Raven. I like Raven a lot, but this whole ghost hunting thing, I don't know if I can be down with that.
You say that now, but
we got Cody's buried bodies. Kevin makes me thirsty. Hashtag
can I just say something really quickly? I saw someone tweeted that there was a dick slip on the feeds and it was Kevin. I was like, of all people, of course it had to be Kevin. All right, I was not thrilled for that.
Okay. Well, do either of you have any final thoughts on anything that you want to touch on before we wrap this up?
No, I want to end on dick slip, I think.
Okay. Do you have anything to plug, Alex? I know Fear the Walking Dead is still going on.
Yeah, season finale on Sunday night. It's a 2-hour season finale, and we've been doing podcasts for that. We keep the podcast like nice and tight, like good little 30-40 minute podcasts. I think they're a lot of fun that me and Rob do. So over on post show recaps, right? Yeah, over on postshowrecaps.com. Tomorrow we'll have a leftovers feedback show up in time for 4th of July, so that'll be there if you're home with some time and nothing to do, and you're a fan of the leftovers. And then after that, starting like the very next day on Wednesday, Rob and Josh have the Road to Westeros series starting up, which is going to be like a couple weeks of like recapping where we are in the world of Game of Thrones before season 7 kicks off. I guess a week from Sunday, I believe.
Wow, yeah, that's exciting. Game of Thrones. Hearing a lot about that this season. Yeah. Some long episodes. Happening. Yeah. We've got some more shows coming your way. We've got another live morning update tomorrow morning. So check that out on the Rob Has a Podcast Facebook page. We're going live. It also will show up in your podcasting feed if you subscribe to the Big Brother Only feed or reality TV RHAP-ups. Those have been so much fun. So I hope you guys are enjoying those. Rob will also be live after the episode on Wednesday night to recap the Wednesday episode and everything that goes down with that crazy veto. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Make sure you check that out. Again, if you want to relive season 2, get those references, you can check out the But First, a Big Brother 2 blockumentary, the audiobook that we did. It was so much fun. I've gotten such great feedback on it, and I'm really, really happy with how it came out. So check that out. And I've also got some American Ninja Warrior stuff happening. I just spoke to James the Beast McGrath last night about Ninja Warrior. Yes. And we even had a special guest show up, Alyssa Beard, out of nowhere. Randomly joins the podcast.
It's really sad that I know who that is. Yes.
Yeah, there you go. She was on the winning team of Team Ninja Warrior. So that was actually a really fun podcast. If you're like a really big American Ninja Warrior fan or Sasuke fan, you're really gonna love it. If not, then it was good. So make sure you check that out. And we also have the regular episode recaps going on. Also, so lots of fun to go around. I haven't seen what do you guys have a good
you keep saying hashtag Cody's buried bodies, but I don't, was that like in reference to something I said?
I don't recall talking about that.
Oh yeah, I was like, I didn't get that either. I know why, because they think he's a serial killer. That's why, because he's got the eyes.
I feel like that's an old joke though.
Yeah, that's an old joke.
I guess we'll just go with hashtag Taven. Or friendly fire's not bad. But we'll go with Taven. Even though it's embarrassing. Hashtag Taven. You can find us on Twitter. I am at Armstrong Taran. Alex is at Alex Kidwell. Brent is at One Lucky Gay. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes. Find us on robhasawebsite.com. Comment on these podcasts. It's a lot of fun when you do. For Brent and Alex, I am Taran Armstrong. Hashtag Taven. We'll see you next time.